Hello, everybody. How you doing? This is Duke, and I'm here to cause some problems. Not problems for hardworking men, not problems for loving women. Today, I'm here to cause problems for people who actually think they get away with secretly being abusive, rebellious, dishonoring, disrespectful. Now, I know that I could have chosen to just speak about the condition itself of narcissism and the behaviors of abusers, but I chose not to because everybody seems to find a way to say, "Oh, that doesn't apply to me. He's not talking about me." And I said, "No, I want to talk specifically to each group, specifically to women. I wanted to have a conversation with women about another group of women. So there's these wonderful women, women of stature, standard, strong women who we love and appreciate. And then there's this other group of women who work very hard at there's this other group of women. So there's these wonderful women that great men, good men would be blessed to be with. And you're blessed to have as a mother, blessed to have as a mate, and so on. But then there's this other group of women that are utter nightmares because they're unhappy with their own lives and they take it out on their men, and they drive their men insane, and they're a complete pain in the buttocks area. All right. Now, I need you to understand something. There are so many good men being run in the ground, all right, because they're with crazy women. Now, men make a joke a lot of times and say there's no such thing as, all women are crazy. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I don't agree at all. I think there's some women that are absolutely amazing. But at the same time, there are women out there that are absolutely insane. And society as a whole has given women a blanket like this camouflage that they can hide behind, where it's like, oh, you would never believe that a woman would be abusive to their man, mentally, emotionally, because everyone shuts down. Look at the power that women have. Everyone shuts down when they see their smile, when they hear their voice, when they turn their head a certain way and act all nice. But that husband is seeing a vicious person. And usually men are already thinking to themselves that they're the problem. The men will already, no matter how much he loves his wife, and I'm talking about a specific group of people, by the way, there are these men who genuinely are trying to make their wives happy, but they don't realize they got the wrong woman. They don't accept that they got the wrong woman. They don't understand that they got a woman who was probably a bully to her parents. He was probably a bully to her parents, who knows no boundaries of disrespect because she's not happy with herself. And for one thing, I noticed that I'm like, why are women so mean to each other? That was the first thing that caught me. Like, all my life, I've just noticed how mean women are to each other, right? And it's because a lot of times women know more about women than men do. And I know someone's going to go, duh, but it's not a duh situation. It's not a duh situation, folks. Realistically, moms, I feel bad for moms a lot of times because moms, they can see the danger of women. They can see the danger of women when their sons are so in love, right? Their sons are so in love, they can't see the son, the daughter, the woman, manipulating. So moms a lot of times are caught in the middle because, especially moms who are trying to protect their sons from this crazy woman, they can't because they can't say anything because the son is so caught up into the crazy woman that the mom can't defend. You don't understand how many times my mom tried to tell me, Duke, stay away from this woman. She's crazy. Even down to my ex-wife, it was like, don't marry her. And like seriously, the amount of thousands of people who tried to tell me not to marry my ex-wife, but I was so in love, thanks, bro. I was so in love, and it's just like, okay, you're throwing your life away. This person is going to do this, this, and this to you. No, they won't. They love me. Listen, guys. Do you realize that pretty much, right now, my ex-wife is pretty much getting money from me. She's getting paid. Now, I want you to think about this. This is one of the main reasons I'm trying to protect men right now. My wife right now stepped out on the marriage, and she's getting paid. I'm taking care of a child that I find out is not mine, and she gets paid, and the child gets paid for the rest of their life because of. So she got paid to have an affair, basically. So I know this intimately, and I know how people the women like to play and pretend like they're someone. I'm not saying men don't do it, because I know when you have these conversations, it sounds polarizing, but I'm focusing. I'm not polarizing. I'm focusing on the abusive woman right now. We know about the abusive man. I mean, the media talks about the abusive man. The whole world stops with the abusive man. The abusive man, we know the story of the abusive man. The abusive man has many different angles, many different faces. The abusive man, we get it. The abusive man story is real. I'm not being dismissive, but I am saying what has been underestimated for so long. And I'm also including, I understand that women have been misused and abused for thousands of years. I want to make that out. I want to throw that out there. I want to throw that out there for real. Women have been mistreated, and so men can't be crying boo-hoo because women are starting to kick back now. They're starting to kick back, and they're saying, "Hey, I'm not going to tolerate this anymore." We're because there's always going to be that learning curve of how to really treat people because But I'm just saying, we have to understand that women have been mistreated for so long. There's a lot of stuff to that. All right, now, however, I am talking about the modern day woman, the abusive woman of today. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the abusive woman. If you say I'm talking about women, I'm going to tell you you're not paying attention to the conversation. I'm talking about abusive women right now. I'm not talking about, so I need everybody to understand, I'm not talking about women. I'm talking about abusive women right now. This is what everybody has to understand. So I'm trying to be as clear as possible. Once again, I'm not talking about women, okay? I'm not talking about women. I'm talking about abusive women, their behaviors, what to watch out for. I'm talking about, the manipulation. I'm talking about the holding hostage, holding children against the fathers and telling them they can't ever see them again. I'm talking about please understand, I'm not talking about women. I'm talking about the abusive woman. I want everybody to be clear about that. So I want the rebellious woman, even the woman that refuses to listen and constantly has to learn the hard way. And at the end of the day, she takes down her family with her. She destroys her own family with her own two hands. The scripture actually calls it the foolish woman. To be totally honest with you, the scripture calls it the foolish woman. But I'm choosing to talk about the concept. This is a very important subject. Many men are dying they're dying alone. They're dying unhappy. They're dying with their kids misunderstanding. They're dying emasculated. Okay, this is some serious stuff that I'm talking to you about. And a lot of people are scared to talk about women. A lot of people are scared to talk about, because when women get mad, they'll blast you on social media and stuff like that. I want everybody to understand, you're talking to the one guy that does not care one bit what you think. If you get offended, if you anything like that, listen, guys, I know what I'm talking about. So, and I know that there's different situations, there's different scenarios. I understand all of that. So listen to me. I understand all of that, people. You know what I mean? I get it. I understand that there are many different variables, many different scenarios. However, I know that there are a bunch of men out here who are suffering because they fall in love with someone who played them. They played the presentation that was beautiful and gentle and wonderful, which means they know the behavior of a sane person. These crazy chicks out here, they actually know how sane people operate. Think about that. Because they know not to act a fool in front of other people, okay? They wait until they're alone. They wait. And yes, men do the same thing. The abusive man does the same thing. But again, I'm focusing on the crazy woman. I'm not focusing on the crazy man right now. The reason why is because when a woman says that her man is abusing her, everyone immediately will believe it. When the woman says her man is abusing her, everyone will believe it. But when a man says a woman is abusing her, nobody believes it. Nobody believes it. It's absolutely amazing. The amount of people. Hold on, I'm sending this out to as many people as I know, as many people as I can. I want everybody to join this conversation if possible. Feel free to comment. Everyone's welcome to comment on this. And I want everybody to know what this is. I'm promoting it to everybody, so just sending it out to different people. But feel free to comment. Please comment, because I will read your comments. We'll promote you. We'll put your comment up there. I want to have a conversation with you. I'm specifically talking about abusive women. So I'm not talking about abusive men. I'm not talking about all women. I'm talking about abusive women. These are women who are so angry that their life has not turned out the way they did or they wanted it to. And so they take it out on, the guy that they're with, or they had some kind of diabolical plan that their life was supposed to turn out a different way, and then it didn't. And so they take it out on the man. Usually when women settle, it's a scary thing, because often the man is falling in love and he's genuinely in love, and he gets his heart broken. Women have been destroying women have been destroying man's heart for, listen, while women are little girls, this is how it works. Ladies, I want to tell you, men are more emotional than you. I want to be honest with you. Some guys are going to be like, don't you tell them all our secrets. Men are more emotional than women, okay? That's the first thing. The reason why that has to be true is because women have to be prepared to love a man child or a woman child, female child or a male child, and whatever comes with that, whether the father's there, not there. The woman usually is already preparing herself for the future, trying to figure things out, strategizing. She's 20 steps ahead. So women are better at talking about their emotions. Women are better at, and a lot of times deal with it. But men are more emotional. A woman will say something and not even be intending to destroy a man, and the man can crumble. Why do you think? Now, I want you to think about when we talk about manhood, okay? When we talk about manhood, I want you to consider this. Manhood is very complicated because everyone's asking, well, what does a man do? And we say, well, a man provides and protects. Okay, so when you even hear that, a man provides and protects, right? Well, you would think that providing and protecting would be worthy of honor. You would think that would be worthy of, honor, that would be worthy of respect, And so if a man is to honor, provide, and protect, right? But that the reason we know that it's almost like someone trying to sell some kind of product. Yes, your man is this. It's like, no, that's a human being that also needs love. Now, I want you guys to think about this. A man, his mother, in most normal situations, a man, his mother has his back. His mother is there for him. His mother loves him. His mother, right or wrong, his mother cares about him. His mother will fight for him. And he has this ultimate, wonderful, this amazing fan. His mother is everything, right? His mother's everything. And then he falls in love. Look at how serious this is. He falls in love with a woman, and he's to the point where he'll do anything for the woman, to the point where he'll leave this guaranteed love from his mother, this care, this coddling, this nurturing. He will leave his mother and his father. He will leave her, that situation, for a woman. All right? To the point where the woman can when the parents can see clearly, this woman is crazy, right? This woman is crazy. The parents can see it. The child, the son is so in love. Women have the ability, these crazy chicks have the ability to win a man's heart, because men are already unguarded in their heart, because they're already told they're not supposed to feel this way. They're not supposed to. So when a woman touches a man's heart and makes him feel safe and makes him feel like he can be vulnerable, but really this crazy woman is just collecting data on how she's going to expose his weaknesses, expose his vulnerabilities, and destroy him if he should ever try to break free from her. Some women want men as pets. They want men as pets. All they want to do, they don't want to work. They just want to sit home and have babies. They just want to, and then hold the babies hostage from the man. There's women that will slap a man, emasculate a man. Over the last 20 years, the amount of phone calls, the amount of men who have come to me, and now I want to tell you the reason why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because here's what happens to men. Listen to me. Here's what happens, fellas. The crazy chick that's abusing you and everything you're trying to do to win her heart so she appreciates the love that you're trying to give, everything that you're trying to do, here's what usually happens. She ends up leaving you anyway. That's what happens. That's what happens. I've seen it a million times. The guy keeps trying to win her heart, keeps trying, and she leaves him anyway. Do you want to know why? Because it was never love. It was always settle until I actually get what I want. This is why, men, you've got to understand, we teach women how to value themselves. We want what's best for them, but we got to do a better job at teaching men how to value themselves. First of all, I'm going to say it straight up. You don't just give your seed to anyone. I repeat, men, do not just give your seed to anyone. That is your inheritance. That is your family bloodline. Men, you need to ask yourself, do you want that woman to be the mother of your children? And I'm talking about before marriage, before you guys have sex, while you guys are talking and getting to know each other, you got to be able to say, do you want this to be the mother of your children? Do you really want her parents to be your kids' grandparents? This is so serious, guys, because you get with a crazy chick, they will take a chunk out of your life and you can't get it back. You can't get the time you wasted, can't get the money you wasted. And listen, Christian folk, you got to watch out for Christian folks, because they will talk you into hanging in there. And next thing you know, you're hanging from a tree because you said, I can't take it anymore. Women, listen, you get with the wrong woman, you will ruin your life. And I watch so many, you know what I noticed? I'll be honest with you. You know what I noticed? I noticed that one of the patterns that these women do, is they start to try to separate you first from your friends and then from your family, and then they try to compete with your family and try to make you a lawyer. I know. I used to tell a friend of mine, his wife was always just being rude to his mother, and whenever he said, "Don't talk to my mother this way," she would like, "Oh, you mama's boy," and then she would attack him. And then when the mom would say, "Hey, don't talk to my son like that," he would say, "Don't talk to my wife like that." It was a mess. And the woman just wanted to know she psychologically had him under control. This is what's interesting. This is what's so interesting is that a lot of people don't understand this. Okay? A lot of people don't understand this. I mean, that's serious. The Bible warns us about crazy women. So before you decide to get offended, especially if you're a believer, the Bible warns. Hey, can you guys hand me my Bible? The Bible warns us about crazy women. They exist. They exist, folks. If we're about to find out that aliens exist, you got to accept the fact that crazy women exist. Now, some of you men are going to say, well, all women are crazy. Hey, guys, don't do that. Don't do that. There's some wonderful, great women out here. I'm talking about crazy chicks right now. Listen, pretty much everybody I ever dated was crazy. You know what I mean? So I'm also a pro. I know what I'm talking about. But I need you guys to understand, without a shadow of a doubt, that that most men, it's easier for them to say, okay, honey, yes, honey. And it's not just for sex. It's not. Men, we cherish our heart. Our heart is everything. So what happens, again, I'm going to use this as an example. When we were kids and a guy fell in love with a girl, that was a real thing. 13, 14, maybe even 10, 11. They really felt the magic and power of love in their heart. Now, here's what happens. While the girl's trying to figure things out and the boy is trying to do everything, to be romantic, sing, dance, whatever he's got to do, she rips out his heart. Him like, nah, I don't want this. Because she's trying to figure things out. So she doesn't even know what she's capable of in the amount of just men who's, and I told my daughters this, because my daughters are very beautiful. I told my daughters this. I said, listen, you're not going to have a problem finding a man that falls in love with you. That's the thing. It's like you guys, there's going to be a bunch of guys that fall in love with you. This is what I told my daughters. There's going to be a bunch of guys you're going to fall in love with. The key is for you to find a guy that you want to love, that you want to care for, that you can see yourself caring for this person and standing by this person and fighting for this person and lifting them up and building them up and encouraging them. That's the gift that you are. You want to be that to a man. You want to be, but if men and women are making the mistake of identifying who loves them by who makes them happy versus, do I want to serve you? Do I want to build you up? Do I want to encourage you? I for some reason, all I want you to do is see how wonderful you are. I want you to see how great you are. I want you to see, I'll take risks to show your greatness. That is a beautiful thing. Thanks. That is a beautiful thing when two people come together because they want to build each other up, right? That's a wonderful thing when two people come together because they want to build each other up. But the problem is, right, with these crazy chicks, they know how to act like that. They know how to play the role. They know how to say the right things. But at the end of the day, when they're alone and the lights go out and the full moon arises, I'm kidding. But when things don't go their way, who they truly are shows up. Okay? This is what really happens, folks. And mothers are trying to save their sons from these situations. I feel so bad for a lot of these moms whose sons are caught up with crazy women, and you have to just stand by and watch as your son gets slaughtered because he gave his heart to a crazy chick. Abusive, narcissistic women absolutely exist. And men, you've got to know how to protect your destiny. Okay? Men, you've got to stand on the word of God. Now, I'm going to show you guys something. All right? I'm going to show you guys something. I'm going to pull it up so you guys can see it. I'm going to pull it up so you guys can see it. Now, you got to understand this. It says, okay, hold on one second. Here we go. We got a comment. Real settlement of a man is 90% dependable on the relationship he is with his wife. Yeah. Yeah. You know, and listen, guys, again, I am talking about abusive, narcissistic women. I am not talking about all women, so I want to make that clear. But the reality is that when they decide that they want to give themselves to a woman and they want to serve a woman, they want to be that. We know that abusive men exist. We know that crazy men exist, but I'm not talking about that right now. I'm talking about most people will believe a woman over a man. I had a woman push me down the stairs, 15 stairs, push me down 15 stairs, and then say, no one will believe you. Because, well, she actually said, because I'm a white woman. No one will believe you because I'm a white woman. I never felt so powerless, hopeless in my life. She said that one time we were arguing and she just drops to the ground while I'm standing there. She gets in my face and I say, get out of my face. And she drops to the ground and then showed me her power. And she just said it again. No one will believe you. And I'm like, so I know what this stuff looks like, folks. I've been through it. I've been through it. And everyone will know. Listen, the belief it's amazing how people believe the predator. This is how I know people aren't really praying. This is honest to God. This is how I know people don't really pray and study their Bible and really have like power with God. This is how I know, because of stuff like this. Like I know based off, based off the way people treat each other, based off the way people respond. Like where's your discernment? Where's your discernment when it comes to relationship? Guys, crazy women exist. All right. And society doesn't want to hear that. It's something weird, you see a person. And by the way, crazy comes in pretty. Oh, guys, listen, this is part of the problem. Guys, a lot of this is your fault, to be honest with you. A lot of this is your fault, guys. Crazy comes in pretty as well, okay? Because you'll fall in love with a girl because she's pretty and then not see her personality. Some of the most beautiful flowers and most beautiful creatures in the sky, in the water, and in the plant life community, the more beautiful they are and the more they depend on their beauty, a lot of times that's the cover-up of their character. Good God. That's a lot of times it's not that they just like to carry themselves nicely. It's that they're vicious and they're ugly on the inside. So they need everybody to see their beauty on the outside because it's covering up how ugly they are on the inside. And again, I'm talking about abusive, narcissistic women. And the reason why I'm doing it is because so many good men have fallen to the wayside and their dreams have been destroyed because they got with a crazy chick. You know what I mean? They got with a crazy chick. They got with a woman that didn't care about them. They got with a woman that didn't have their best intentions at heart. They got with a woman that only saw them as a tool or as a resource. They got with a woman with no discipline. They got with a woman with no self-control. They got with a woman with no honor. They got with a woman that was bullheaded and strong-minded and saw everything their own way. There's nothing wrong with being smart. There's nothing wrong with being, intelligent. There's nothing like all that's important. But we've got to keep in mind that there's a place where it's just like, man, what in the world? Like I've seen guys get so humiliated, so embarrassed. I've seen women, making scenes at guys' jobs and just like it's interesting. I've seen women tell men that they're going to make sure their kids grow up to hate them. And so they make up stuff to tell the kids so that they can be mad at them all the time. Guys, we got to talk about this. Men, you got to protect your heart. You got to know your value. You know what I mean? You got to know your value. And again, my heart goes out to the moms. If you're out there and you know what I'm talking about at all, please comment. If you're a mom and you're out there, I would love for you to chime in. I'd love to hear from you about this particular subject. I'd love to know what you think. I would love to know how you feel about it. This would be absolutely amazing conversation to have. I would love to know what your feelings are about this. If you're a mom and you know what it's like, or even if you're a woman who has seen what I'm talking about before, have you ever seen? And what do you think? How do you feel? And I'm asking ladies, what do you think about women who abuse their men? What do you think about women that are narcissistic? What do you think about it? I just want to hear from you. Please leave your comments. I'd love to know what you guys think about this. And please really think about it, and don't be scared, because I do notice something. There are women out there that genuinely do not trust women. And men, you can try to talk about how much we know and all this other stuff, but seriously, women have this gift and this ability to identify, like you'll somebody will say something like, hey, you don't want to mess with this one right here, or hey, a woman will be like, I can see she's flirting with you, when a man won't even know, a man won't even have a clue that she's flirting. Women have this intuition that is just absolutely amazing. But I also know that there's a viciousness to women that we have to also listen. If there's man and there's woman, right? There's man and there's woman, and if the man is more physical, and then a woman has to be like if there's nothing more dangerous to a man and a woman other than a man and a woman. So and we give this pass to women because we think they're fragile. We think they're this. If I was a woman, I'd be like, I'll take that. Yeah, I want you to underestimate me so I can manipulate you. You would never think this. Guys, you got to protect yourself. You got to know, before we even start talking about marriage and things like that, you got to know who you're partnering with. If the scripture says, know those that labor amongst you, you got to know who you're partnering with. Now, I do understand that there's a lot of stuff that, like the Bible, that talks about divorce and things like that. But I want to remind you very carefully that, and this is real stuff here, I want to remind you that the Bible also says, not to be unequally yoked. That's both parties' responsibility to not be unequally yoked. That's both parties' responsibility. That means if you marry a crazy chick, it's absolutely, even though she played the role, it's absolutely your fault. If you end up with a crazy chick, it's absolutely, trust me, I know that part too. I married a crazy chick, and it was absolutely my fault because I thought that I could change them. And we know that that's a story that a lot of women do. They always think that that they could change them and they could change somebody. Guys, be careful with that, because you can't change anybody. I wish somebody would help me preach this. I wish somebody would have a story to tell or something. because this is where a lot of things go wrong in relationships. You gotta be prepared to be with somebody that can go through some stuff. You know what I mean? You got to be prepared to be with somebody that can go through some stuff. If you marry a person that's not ready to go through some stuff, where everything has to be perfect, where everything has to be perfect, everything has to be great, you're going to be destroyed, because the person that you're with, if all the weight falls on you, if the person that you're with, all the weight falls, this is what I'm saying. This is what the issue is. If the person you're with, all the weight falls on you, because everything needs to be perfect, and life doesn't give us perfect situations. You can have the perfect husband, the perfect wife, but then an illness or something like that can happen to your children. But if they don't know how to handle things, okay, they'll crumble under the pressure of life. And that's not something you want to do. If everything has to be perfect, and if your partner has a need to destroy you and embarrass you and down talk you, oh guys, do you understand the amount of encouragement that men absolutely need? The amount of encouragement that men, I hear women say a lot of times, I ain't gonna be his mama. Well, let me explain something to you. You're not supposed to be his mama. You're supposed to be more. You're supposed to be more, and he's supposed to be more than a father. It's the more part. We're not supposed to lose anything. We're not supposed to lose care. We're not supposed to lose nurture. We're not supposed to lose support. Why would a man go, I guess I'm going to go into this world where I'm just completely abused and mistreated and misguided? And I wish women, again, I'm talking about abusive women. I'm not talking about all women. I'm talking about abusive women who are mistreating their men, who are disrespectful. Now, I do know this. There are a lot of punk fathers out there who let their kids talk about them any kind of way or talk to them any kind of way, okay? There are a lot of punk fathers out there who, seriously, there are a lot of just bad dads out there who let their kids say whatever they want to, and act however they want to. And, and so the end result of that is that the daughter grows up not knowing how to respect men. This is what happens. The daughter grows up not knowing how to respect men, and the daughter ends up disrespecting the husband. Usually she pulls them in by being nice and sweet and kind, but then, and always, listen to this, always pay attention to men. It's okay if you go, honey, I noticed that you don't have a problem disrespecting me. Why is that? Have the uncomfortable conversations. Guys, have the uncomfortable conversations. Because, listen, I want to save marriages. I want people to be in good marriages and good relationships. And I do believe people can learn and change. But usually people have bad behavior because they get away with it for so long. I am a narcissist's worst nightmare. I'm a narcissistic person's worst nightmare. I got nothing to do but make you look stupid. I got nothing to do but just be like, nah, you're not getting away with that. We're going to talk about that. We're going to deal with that. Yeah. No, narcissists can't handle me because of the fact that I'm not going anywhere. I'm like, yo, listen, whether you're a guy or a girl, when narcissists sit down with me and try to tell me how their partner is wrong about everything, how their wife is wrong about everything, how their mom is wrong about everything, I'm like, nah. Yeah, we're going to start with you first. We'll get to everybody else and how you got all messed up, but we're going to start with you. How did you become a jerk? Let's start with that story. Tell me the story how you became a jerk. And I want to hear, I became a jerk by this way. Bypass all the victimization talk. Nobody liked me. My feelings got hurt when I was in kindergarten. Like, come on, man. Guys, the way we treat each other is important. And here's what's going to happen. I'm telling you right now. Here's what's going to happen. And this is the real thing, folks. Uh, what's going to happen is we're causing some problems. We're going to cause some problems. See, married people keep a lot of secrets. All right, married people keep. I noticed that married people have no problem of walking around acting like everything's fine, everything's great, especially people in ministry. People in ministry are profound at faking it and making everyone seem like that everything's so great, they're so happy, everything's so wonderful, and then behind closed doors, it's a different story. I'm going to actually try to get a psychiatrist on, and I want to talk to them. I'm going to get a psychiatrist on actually. It's going to be crazy. And I guarantee you, we've got to talk about this because abusive women have been able to, play the victim so well. You know what I mean? They play the victim so well. I know the word. Well, one of my other concerns is that the term Karen constantly gets used. I'm starting to get to a point where that's really bothering me. That's really bothering me. And I was telling my wife, I was like, this is not okay that this word is being thrown around so easily, and it's going to end up becoming a problem. And that's one of the issues is that, and that's exactly what it is. People are just using it now, and that's a tactic of men doing that. That's a tactic of men to try to just dumb people down, or a political party or whatever. Hold on one second. I'm pulling this up. Let's see here. Dangerous women. I'll say dangerous women in the Bible. All right, let's see this thing. So what I want to do is I'm going to pull this up so you guys can see how I search. All right, here we go. Let's see here. 25 warnings in the Bible verses about evil women and bad wives. Look at this. Look at this. This is Bible. So for everyone who wants to get offended, foolish and a woman that talked about this. People, we've got to keep that in mind. Here we go. All right, I'm back. Hold on. He came in and then went up. There we go. All right. So again, we are not talking about all women. We are simply talking about. We're not talking about all women. We are simply talking about abusive women. That's what we're talking about. And some of the behaviors of abusive women is one, disrespecting you in front of your children. That's one thing that abusive women will do. And of course, abusive men do the same thing, but we're talking about abusive women. I notice this subject when if black people are talking about black issues in front of white people or the effects of slavery or something like that, a lot of white people say, oh, no, well, oh, you know, it's like, yeah, listen, I know you're trying to I know it's uncomfortable. Just, you know, be quiet. Just don't say anything. Just let it be. Not that your words aren't valuable, not that you don't have thoughts, but what happens is there is the frequency where when we can just acknowledge someone that the cause, the effect of something is a reality. Like the effect of a man being abused by a woman is a reality. The reality that a man can't cry out for help when he's being abused because society doesn't believe him. And so now, you know, when a mom is trying to tell everybody, you know, this woman is abusing my son, this woman is, nobody believes him. And I'm telling you, the amount, especially in the black culture, you know, especially in the black culture, there's like, oh, I'm a strong black woman. No, you're an abusive narcissist. You know, you're not a strong black, you're an abusive narcissist. And I'm not talking about the strong black women that are doing it right. Praise God. God bless you. God bless you. But I'm talking about crazy chicks. Crazy chicks exist, guys. And unfortunately, the most interesting thing is crazy chicks know how to nice. Play nice. It blows my mind how many women read the Bible and to themselves, am I one of these? Am I a Jezebel? Do I emasculate my husband? Do I make him feel stupid in front of people? Do I down talk my husband? You know, do I try to take his authority? Do I try to make him look stupid in friends? Do I allow him to lead? You know, if you look at what Jezebel did, anyway, I don't even know what this is. I'm just going to read it. This is one of the first things I looked up. It says, evil woman and bad wives. Let's see what we're looking at here. Bible verses about evil women. Scriptures let us know to stay from evil women. They are greedy, rebellious, unsubmissive, wicked, adulterous, gossiping, slandering, immoral women. Bad wives and evil women in the Bible have done great damage, such as lead Solomon astray, betray Samson, and ordering the killing of John the Baptist. Evil women will cause a Christian men to compromise and sin. They're on the wrong path and will bring up. I just randomly found this because in every nice sized church there are worldly women, but they're by Satan to trap godly men. Very true. In every church I've seen, they might profess to know Christ, but watch out. It doesn't matter how beautiful she is. It doesn't matter if one prays, it's giving signs that she will not be a submissive wife in the relationship. It is best for Christian man to find a true Christian woman. Proverbs 31 tells she will do him good and not evil all the days of his life. What do you look, guys? There is a difference between a godly woman and a tragedy. And you got to know that some of these women out here are just tragedies waiting down. They know the whole song and dance, but they're petty. They'll drive you insane. If they don't get their way, they'll act stupid. They can't see themselves. Okay? They can't see themselves. And I want you to know this. They're never going to see themselves. Okay, narcissistic woman, when you're dealing with a narcissistic woman, you're going to lose every time. You're going to lose your life. You're going to lose your love. You're going to waste time. You could be spending time with your family. You're going to lose. You are going to lose. Narcissists are determined to see themselves to win. They're determined. They'll never admit it. They'll never wrong. Do not be the person. Okay, do not be the person in this situation. You don't understand how low abusive narcissists will go. Do you know that I had a couple come in one time. I was at this church, and I had a couple. I was doing counseling with this couple, and every time he started to talk about how he really felt, she would pinch him. So I finally said something about it. I said, "Hey, why do you do that?" She's like, "Do what?" I was like, "Every time he starts to say something really intimate about how he feels, you pinch him." She goes, "No, I don't do that." And I was like, "Yeah, so you're a crazy chick." I actually said that. I did. I was like, "Yeah, so you're a crazy chick. You don't want to admit that you're killing this guy just from that." I was like, not saying he's perfect, but you drive him insane, and then when he gets there, you play the victim, and that's what you guys' pattern is. You drive him insane because you don't identify with your craziness. You don't see what you do to him. You don't see how you make him so insane to the point where he feels physically attacked, where he attacks you, loses self-control, and then you get the benefit of playing the victim and then saying things like, "Oh, you're supposed to be a man of God," or you're supposed to do this and that, But it's really a toxic relationship is what you guys have. And they've been married for 15 years doing this. 15 years doing this. Finding out they're pulling guns on each other and all types of crazy stuff was happening, man. It was wild. It was wild. But here's the thing. Most men are talking to men about women. Most women are talking to women about men. My question is, why don't we talk to each other? Can anybody answer that for me? Why don't we talk to each other to figure out, like, why is it awkward or something for men to go up to women and say, "Hey, I'm trying to understand women better, and I would like to know this." And I know that every woman is different. Every woman is completely different. So I totally get that, but I want to know what you think about it. I want to know what you feel about this. How do you feel about that? Why are the two genders not communicating to each other? You know what I mean? That's what I want to know. Why aren't the two genders having a conversation with each other about this? Why aren't they talking to each other? And I feel sorry. Again, I guys, y'all don't understand. I feel so bad for the mothers whose sons are the victims of narcissistic, abusive women. These women, guys, I want to tell you something. I'm going to tell you something straight up. Okay? These women will have you locked up. Okay, these women will have you locked up, thrown in jail, and when you get out, they'll bail you out. They'll be there to pick you up. They'll lie on you, have you thrown in jail, be there to pick you up, and act like nothing happened. Crazy chicks are crazy. Now, I got to tell you, there is the crazy chick that's way more balanced. There's a crazy chick that will manipulate you right? And promise to get better, but she never will. She'll promise that she won't hurt you anymore, but she always will. So she tries to play on your heart, and you've got to be so brave to say, hey, I'm not gonna let you disrespect me like this. And it's like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Well, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do is, well, I'm gonna you find a mature way to handle it. I'm gonna find a mature way to handle it. You're like, we're gonna go end up going to counseling, because one of the things I know about wicked people, they don't like to be exposed. Wicked people do not like to be exposed. I'm going to say that again. If you want to. That's one of the reasons why I drive people crazy, is because they try to do stuff to me privately. And listen, guys, I will. If I see you if I see you're abusive and narcissistic, you will end up on Facebook. You will end up. I'll be like, yo, look. So we're having this argument about this, and this, and she says this. What do you guys think? If I see that stuff, do you want to know why? Because evil hates to be exposed. They love to be able to, and here's the thing. You'll know somebody's really crazy when they don't mind being crazy in public. But if all of a sudden they stop because somebody can see who they really are, oh, dude, you're like, you don't even know. And I'm telling you, if they don't keep, like, I'll know somebody's really hurting. Okay, I'll know somebody's really hurting because they're hurting. But if I just walk into the room and I see that you're being abusive, do you know how much love men need? And I've seen women know that men need love, and they say the most hurtful things. They say the most hurtful things, and they do it on purpose. Do you want to know why they do it on purpose? Because they genuinely don't care about the person. That's why. And they don't want to admit they don't care about the person. You know what I mean? They don't want to admit they don't care about the person. That's the issue. Women will abuse men and then say it's love. Or I was just trying to protect you, or I just love you, and it's all that stuff. You know what I mean? And it's sad. Let's see here. We got a comment on one of the. Let me see. I can't see all the comments on the Facebook, but I can see it on the original one. For some reason, it didn't come through, but there was a comment, so I'm going to post that here. All right, so Portia Bryant is the one that made this comment. Portia Bryant says, I am one of the good ones. Married now 22 years. My passion is helping believers to develop a better relationship with their emotions for their life. Hey, Portia, can I invite you into the conversation? Would you mind coming on? Let me see here. I don't know if she's watching still. I'm going to see if I can get Portia Bryant to come on to the cast. This will be really good. She's actually a counselor. She helps people deal with their behavior. Let me see if I can get her to come on so we can talk about this. So she's going to probably be like, I want you to choose another word other than crazy chicks. Let's see here. You. And I'm going to see if I can get her on. That would be absolutely amazing to have someone like this. Now, abusive women, I know that this is hard, especially if you've been abused by a man. I know you're like, I've already, in the beginning of this, I've already made it clear that, hey, we know that women have been misused and abused for thousands of years, and it's not okay. And we just want to address the fact that it doesn't mean that abusive women don't exist. Abusive women absolutely exist. abusive women are dangerous because they also set the tone of what parents how their children are going to respond to authority. Like there are men who grow up and end up hating women. There are men who end up hating women, and I'm lying not, guys. I pastor some dark stuff. So when you guys ask me why am I so crazy, you don't know what I actually minister to. So when a guy is about to he's plotting on becoming a serial killer, and he reveals this stuff to me that he wanted to be a serial killer, and he's trying to be. I have to find out why. And when we start talking and dialoguing, and he starts telling me that he was with an abusive mother, and his dad was passive, and he had an abusive mother. So he grew up with a hate for women, and he wanted to overpower. Okay. She said not for a while. Okay. She knows, everybody knows. Duke's not short-winded. Duke is long-winded. You know what I mean? So, but I don't know how to get the messenger. Link is in messenger. All right. So here's the situation, guys. The reality is that crazy women exist. Mental illness exists in men and women. Damaged people exist, okay? Damaged people exist. And this is where you have to understand, not everyone is evil. Some people are damaged. And because of the way our society is so rush into the next level, like you're supposed to be married by now. You're supposed to be, well, what you're supposed to be is healed before you make another life decision that's going to also affect other people and also affect, life itself and also affect people. That's what you're supposed to do. Forget about saying, I'm 25, I'm not married yet. I'm 25, I don't have kids yet. If you're 25 and you're a complete Looney Tune, you don't need to have kids. You need to chill out, relax, hold your horses, get right. Now, we ain't talking about waiting like church, like I want to get right and then I'll go to church. No, when it comes, this is where this rule does apply. When it comes to you marrying somebody, nobody has to accept you the way you are. I hear me on this. If you are abusive and crazy, you are undeserving of a relationship. You need to get right. Nobody should be abused, not a man or a woman. But again, I'm talking about the fact that women can hide behind the idea of a woman. Women can hide behind the idea of, I would never do that. I'm the sweet one. They can hide behind that. So there's this camouflage. But the reason why I wanted to talk about it is because I want to expose the crazy chicks. I want to expose crazy chicks by letting you know, we know you exist. All right. So I promised Portia that we won't be on too long. I promised Portia, because she knows Duke is a man of few words, right? All right, so how you doing, Portia Bryant?
Magnificent this evening, sir. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm always doing something crazy, spontaneous. But over the years, I found, I can't believe I never thought of it before, but over the years, I started thinking about the amount of marriages where men were coming to me telling me that they were being abused. And I remember my initial response, like, that happens? I remember thinking that and feeling that. So, first of all, what do you think about the idea of men being abused?
My experience with being able to understand a male's perspective was being a parent liaison at an elementary school in Portsmouth where it was my responsibility to engage the parents.
Ah,
But not only did I do that, but I started a program called the Watchdog Dad Program. Now this is at a Title I school where everyone counted the dads out and said, our children, our dads aren't involved, and that won't work with this population. And virtually said, don't do it here because it's not going to work. And so, because I am the person who I am, I said, okay, well, thank you. Not only will I, give it a shot, but
right.
150 dads came out on a Monday night after a 3-day weekend for the
Wow.
launch. And that only happened because the level of engagement, and in my reaching out to them personally, calling their telephones, 2-3 times before the event, I was able to establish relationships. So they let me know about how, many times, listen to the other end of the spectrum, right? Say moms won't put the father's names down in registration, or for the child in the school, or not being able to speak to their children on the telephone, or a dad buying a child a phone, and the mom breaking it or not allowing the child to engage in conversations, and then they're
Right.
able to talk to their dad from the school. So that's what I, being an advocate in the community, from the perspective of a parent liaison, that was my first initial
Encounter, yeah.
encounter with a dad's perspective, or men's perspective rather.
Yeah, and I do know that there's a so part, because I know you help people deal with their behavior, and I'm attached to this belief. I really believe this. I tell people all the time, parents, whatever flaws, attitudes, and behaviors you don't feel like dealing with your kids because they annoy you,
Yeah.
when they become an adult, someone's going to have to deal with that, whether it's putting it in check or being a victim of it. So if it's a temper tantrum, so when I thought about how a woman would become abusive, there's the obvious one, from the amount of oppression that women have been through for thousands of years. And finally, there's a generation where women are rising up and have a voice that, I can see how misinterpreting what power is can turn into abuse. Men do that as well. But then there's this one where it's like this dad that never corrected his daughter. And now and she flipped out on dad, and she has no problem on flipping out on husband because no one has ever been brave enough to put her in check. Does that make sense?
Yes, a lack of discipline.
Yeah. Because so the woman but here's the thing though. Here's what's crazy. Why is it that that abusive people know how to behave in public? Why is that? Like how do they know? How they know exactly what people are supposed to do, but then behind closed doors, it's a different story.
Okay, you're saying knowing how to turn it on and turn it off.
Yeah.
And knowing how to turn it on and turn it off is just a part of that individual survival techniques. And they know that they cannot survive if they take ratchetness out into the community.
Right. If they're exposed. Because I know, and here's the thing too, is that I know that, and I was saying this, and I want to tell me what you think about me when I say this, that it's, I know that men and women are like the apex predators of the world, right? I get that. But that also means we're literally the most dangerous people. We're the most dangerous creatures to each other, men and women. We're the most dangerous. And so, there's this, I'm like, women have been given like a blanket, a camouflage, the smile, and you would think it's just easier to believe a woman when she says she's being abused And when a man says, what do you think that is? Is it that society painted this picture of the fragile woman and she's innocent and da 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 da? What do you think that is?
Well, definitely. I mean, we have a society that has a culture that's taken on more of a misogynistic perspective, and more of a male dominance culture. So that seems more of an oxymoron, so to speak, for you to say that a woman is being abusive to a man when historically it is as a
I
man
gotcha.
dominated, dominated and professionally, dominated domestically, in all areas of life. He's dominated. So no one wants to embrace a perspective that will go against the norm of what they have seen and experienced as their own reality, especially if they've been a part of wanting that to be the culture as well.
Yeah, because and again, I think it's very interesting because you know the way that the abusive person, but in this, I'm focused. I already made it clear, people. Like, I know that abusive men exist. I know that there's great women out there, but I'm talking about the abusive because I know it's so funny how the abusive person can clearly see a topic discussing their exact behavior, and then just be like, "Oh, that must be for someone else. That's not for me." And just what I mean. So I'm being as detailed as possible because I want to convict the heart of the person that's being abused. Like, listen, we know you exist and what you're doing is wrong. And I'm praying that somehow something is said that pricks their heart so that they can see themselves. But I find it interesting how the predator can play the victim so well.
Right. And of course, the predator can play the victim because she has been victimized. And so it's easier for her to be believed because of the track record that has been stricken against her.
Wow. So abusive women have been abused in some way or form.
Right.
Yeah. I think about when I hear that, I think about, say, someone being picked on at school really badly, and then they turn into, or whoever wants them. Somebody ends up wanting them, even when they thought they were unadmirable, and undesirable, but somebody wanted them, and I can see them becoming abusive in the sense of somebody wanted me, now I have mine. So there's like a selfishness, coming from that damage of feeling unwanted for so long. But then I think that there's an abusive woman who is angry because her plans in life haven't turned out the way, and now she has to settle. I think some of the most abused men and women are people where the other person settled for them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes. And so that person is not exactly meeting their expectations. And so it highlights and exacerbates their sense of inferiority in themselves. And
Right.
they take it out on the person who they don't feel like is good enough.
Yeah. And so these are people that may intend well. They do great things, whether they're a doctor or a lawyer or even a preacher or whatever. But behind closed doors, they're kind of a monster because they felt like they settled for someone, and their lifestyle demanded more out of this person, and that constant disappointment drives them insane.
Right.
And I know that.
And look, there's a scripture that says hope deferred makes a heart grow sick in Proverbs. And so a heart growing sick can extend to so many different areas, as far as just the repercussions of what happens when a heart grows sick from disappointment, from heartbreak, from hope being deferred.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think There's this movie called Norbit. There's a movie called Norbit, and you see this really gentle, this gentle guy who really just is loved, but he's also intimidated by his wife, and she talks down on him, she tears him up, and I guess the whole climax of the movie is when he stands up to the family, right? That's the whole concept of the movie. But when I look at that concept, it also seems like when a woman who is abusive, she almost picks a man that she knows she can bully.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because it's the same thing I said about the men. It's like to me this is like, does that imply that maybe there was an abusive masculine figure if they pick a man that they know that they can bully?
Well, I don't. In some cases, it can be a abusive masculine figure who treated her in such a way, as well as there are situations where people are they're just hurt, and whoever is the innocent bystander will just you know experience the havoc being wreaked on them
Yeah.
because they're in their presence.
Have you heard the term the alpha male and the beta male? Do you believe in that?
Yes.
Okay, so what happens when a beta male gets with an alpha woman? Could that lead to abuse?
Yeah, it's definitely susceptible to leading to abuse. With when all of the right environmental factors are present.
But
So
it doesn't necessarily guarantee it though.
right, it doesn't guarantee it.
So how what when I say to you toxic relationship, because these are I know it's easier, especially for a good man. It's easier for a good man to just assume he's the problem and start trying to work on himself to please his wife. What are some signs of a toxic relationship?
I'd say that some signs of a toxic relationship are when there is a woman who or a man who's constantly having to down talk, very sarcastic to their significant others, very sarcastic, very demeaning, and they will even sometimes even have behaviors displayed around other people. That's not so secretive, just to make that person feel even worse than before, so to speak, to virtually letting them know who's in charge.
Right. Yeah.
um, Toxic behaviors can also look like physical violence, threats, also someone tr- uh, separating someone from their friends and family, or not wanting them to be around loved ones. Toxic behavior also doesn't allow someone to grow in their areas of gifts and talents. Would not be supportive of someone growing and being their best. And
Yeah.
that's we as humans, we just like look, just like plants, we have to have be planted in good soil, and we have to be nourished and given the right environment to grow and become our best. But when there are things, look, thorns or rocky soil, or there's an environment that's not conducive to growth, then it's always a recipe for disaster.
Can I ask you something? Does a woman have to choose if she wants a strong man or a smart man? Like because I know we talk about preference, and one of the things I said before you came on was men talk about men to understand women, and women talk to women to understand men. And I'm like, man, this like clearly we're almost at a 70% divorce rate. I'm like, clearly that theory is not working. We need to talk to each other. And I wanted to know from you what is so hard of where at what point and when should we be talking to each other about, hey, this is what women really are looking for. And again, I know that there are preferences out there, but
Right.
ultimately, does a woman want a strong man, a smart man? I mean, what is that?
So yes, I mean you said it right, and there are preferences, but really what it all boils down to is matters of the heart. Matters of the heart. Uh, the emotional needs of a person, just the same way as there's five love languages. You know,
Gotcha.
everyone experiences relationship differently. Every man, wants a woman who, generally, some men would say, okay, I want a woman who's very nurturing. Men would say, I want a woman who's very driven and strong. Or everyone has these their own set of attributes, characteristics, and traits that they would like from a significant other.
Right.
But then it's a matter of how do I relationship with this person for our best benefit. And that's
Yeah.
a matter of communication, discernment, and being able to be real and watch out for red flags, because people will let you know who they are from the beginning. And we can choose to
So
believe,
true.
or we can choose to say, yeah, no, things will get better.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that that's part of the issue. That's a huge part of the issue, is that we like to pretend like, you know things are not the
Look, we like to pretend like we don't see what we can see.
right. That's the part that gets me, is that we pretend like we don't see what we clearly see, I'm like, why do we do that? But I know that my situation when I got married, my first wife, I thought that I thought that I could change her. That's what I thought I could. I was like, okay, she's cool, she's funny, we have this chemistry. I know that I'm a man of God. She'll catch up to where I'm at. And it's like, no, who do you think you are to change somebody?
Hmm.
I think that was a humbling, extremely humbling situation, because I genuinely believed it. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? I genuinely believed that I had this power to change someone. You
Yeah.
know, and here's the thing. And then it's when she showed me who she was. She has affairs. She ends up being pregnant by somebody else. That happens, and instead of leaving, I stayed, and then I became the bad guy. You see what I'm saying? Like it's like, now I stayed for you, but really I was staying because I didn't want to deal with church people. You know what I mean? So then she had to hear it all the time, like, oh, I adopted this child, and it became self righteous. So it's funny how hurt can make it come in waves, and I guess that's what makes it a toxic relationship.
Right.
But
Right.
is it? So here's the question then: can two people come from two walks of life? Right? So say if you come from a great family and this other person comes from a chaotic family, can two people come from two walks of life and make that work? Or like what are some of the challenges that might happen or might face in that situation?
Well, some challenges that you might face in a situation of coming from mixing two different backgrounds of chaos and more of a calm atmosphere is that you might be able to gain influence over that person and win them over, so to speak. or they might win you over and cause you to become more chaotic as a result of being with them.
That was dope.
So, we have to understand what our uh, look what our emotional economy looks like.
Yeah, that was super dope. It might win you over. Very true. So, and because I say this to people all the time, I go, don't drive people crazy and then get mad when they get there. You know what I mean? Because like when they get crazy, like, oh, this is the crazy. They allowed it, but you created it. You know what I mean? And again, it's like, you know, how do if we start identifying early on in a relationship that it's going to be toxic. First of all, I would like to know, because I know you're a parent. What do you do as a parent who sees their son in a abusive relationship? What do you think the what does the parent do about that?
Well, you have to know your child. You got to know your child. So in knowing who your child is, you understand what your approach should be. uh, like I said, everyone has like a different love language, as well as ways that they are receptive to communication. So
Right?
for some people, you can be very gentle with them and letting them know, or giving them some warning, words of wisdom. Or you can, some people, you have to be very direct and just let them know what it is and say, okay, well, this is dangerous for you. You also have to discern what your level of relationship is with your child. Some people have
Uh,
a relationship with their child that would welcome you being, 100, keeping it 100. And some people don't have that type of relationship, so that child will avoid you, and have you not even being able to be with your grandchildren or something crazy like that. So we have to use discernment and be very prayerful when it comes to those matters, because it's dealing with the heart of a man.
so oof, whoa, man, that's so powerful. Because I was saying how I was saying how I feel bad for the moms who have to stand by and watch their child, because usually what the typical narcissistic behavior is to separate you from your friends and family, and then to turn around and you know uh, put you in a situation where you're now just with them. You're all they have. They're all you know. Um, and I know that men are. I don't think people understand that a good man is so focused on pleasing his wife. That's a lot of power that a woman has. So to abuse that is like some of the most utmost cruelty. You know what I mean?
Right.
But what do you say to that mom that is desperately asking for help? Who said, "Hey, what happens? What happens when the abusive woman starts that separation process? How does the mom respond to that when she starts to try to compete with the mom, separate from the mom, disrespect the mom? What is the mom to do in that situation?
Well, in that situation, that we always have options. And so one of the options is either you know just being able to shower more love on the girl, as opposed to trying to match her. 'Cause a lot of times when you match someone's energy, um, you know, there's a quote that says, darkness cannot,
Uh,
extinguish, darkness. Only light can do that. And so there are situations,
that's a hardcore level of discipline.
yeah, a hardcore level of discipline, but it lands your heart in a more peaceful place in the end, as opposed to you being stressed out from being in conflict and chaos.
I should have got you off earlier. I should have been like, okay, that was good enough. Thank you. Oh man, you got me on that one because I I use the match the energy as the last resort. But
Hmm.
what you just said is that that doesn't work, and there is no sense. There's no instance where me matching someone's crazy has worked. Actually, what more likely what happens is it gets easier and easier to match the level. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's so funny how because that becomes what you practice more. You know
Right.
what I mean? And when you try to use that even as a last resort, you say it's a last resort, but the truth is you get closer and closer to your to that. Uh, Honestly, because a lot of times when you just you
It
see
be,
the damage that they cause,
mhm.
and you want them to feel how they make other people feel.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like I want you to when you acting like that, well, I can show you I'm crazy too. And then and next thing you know, you actually end up losing your ability to minister to them.
Right. Right.
That's usually that's usually what happens.
Right. What you say? What you destroy your testimony, so to speak.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. I think I constantly because of my temper, I constantly think about the guy punching Jesus in the face, and he turns around and says, "You know, what did I do against you?" Um, And when I started posting this conversation and stuff on Facebook, the first thing people thought that people thought that I was talking about my personal relationship, and I was like, no, but you know, I can see why people thought that. But the reason why I really started posting it again was because the amount of people that were sharing with me that they were having these from the amount of men over the last 20 years. And I just started thinking about that over the last 20 years, the amount of men that were telling me that they were being abused and the shock that a lot of women didn't even know that they were abusing them. And what do you think that is where a woman can be abusive and not know it?
I believe that women can be abusive and not know it because of the silence of men and being honest with their feelings and emotions. So a lot of times, if a man is being abused, instead of talking about what's going on, he will be silent in his feelings and in his emotions, and so it allows her to feel like her behaviors are okay. He doesn't want to. He doesn't ever want to um, portray that he's weak in any way, so he keeps silent, and so that does him not advocating for himself or not speaking up for himself, standing up for himself. That's not helpful when it comes to dealing with a bully,
Yeah, yeah.
and that only gives them more power.
And last question, because I know you got to go. I love talking to you. Um, can men this very reason is why a lot of men are afraid to be vulnerable. Do you
Right.
even think men should feel safe enough to be vulnerable around their wives?
So again, I would say that that's a perfect picture for discernment. A perfect picture for discernment because there are men who shut down, and that internally destroys that relationship. So that relationship will not be able to flourish because he's closed off.
Right.
And if he's closed off and then she returns what he's doing and now she's closed off, then you're going to get a divorce.
Good grief. It's inevitable that because two people can't just exist like that. All right, I know you got to go fix dinner. You got to do your thing. I just wanted we got to do this again. This is going to be the next topic on the show that we have because I got to have you on again. I'm so proud of you for everything that you're doing, everything that you have accomplished. You are such a great example of what a woman of God is. This right here, guys, is her new book. Let me cut this banner off real quick so you guys can see it, can see all of it. This is What Would Jesus Do? Could you explain to everybody what Would Jesus Do is a little bit?
Sure. What would Jesus do? Give perspectives from Christ on emotions and situations that he dealt with. So it gives 45 scripturally sound answers for managing emotions and becoming more like Christ. Because in the book, you get a chance to see for yourself by Christ giving firsthand perspectives. Jesus saying, I remember a time when, oh, you're experiencing betrayal. Okay, well, I remember a time when, and he gives his firsthand account as to, what he experienced as is recorded in the Gospels, as well as rejection and feeling invalidated and all of these different feelings for that the 21st century believer can relate to. Jesus says, yes, okay, there is a friend who understands. I'm that one who understands. And you're getting that firsthand encounter with Jesus saying, it's I'm your friend. I'm the advocate for men. I understand humanity. In defense of humanity, I hung and died on the cross because I love you, because I understand, because I wanted to show you, because I care. I say, okay, cast your cares to me. Come to me, all ye who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. So let me start off by telling you, all the things that I experienced so that you will understand that you're not alone. And, there's room for you to be built and developed and to grow in wisdom and to live in a place and lifestyle of peace.
Yeah.
There's nothing like living in a lifestyle of peace and walking in love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control, because you now understand what abundant living looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody knows how hyper I am. This is actually how she is. She is calm. She just listens. Like, okay, well, and it makes me calm too. It's you bring so much peace. You are so amazing. That's What Would Jesus Do by Portia Bryant. The website is PortiaBryant.com, right?
Right.
So
Portia
make
Bryant,
sure.
you can find the book on Amazon. What Would Jesus Do by Portia Bryant on
Yeah,
Amazon.
so that's on Amazon. Got it.
Yes.
So I want everybody to do both. Go to PortiaBryant.com as well as go to Amazon and get the book because did I spell your name right, by the way?
Yeah.
I want to make sure.
Yes, PORTI. You're right. And then also, What Would Jesus Do Facebook group has been truly amazing because I designed a curriculum to go along with the book, and there are so many testimonials that have come out of it, and it's
Yeah,
still going on. And I finished that class like 2 weeks ago, and the students are remaining in the group and they have also a lot of my students are in Africa, but they have also created a WhatsApp group called What Would Jesus Do? What Would Jesus Do by Portia Bryant, the upper room. The upper room. And we remain inside of their daily as well. And so it's a beautiful experience. It's become a discipleship program.
yeah, that's amazing. And let me ask you this: I sound like a preacher in closing, but really that's powerful. And what about the podcast? Are you still doing the podcast?
Still, so the podcast is being worked on, and so it's not only going to be audio, but it's also going to have visual.
Ah, wow, guys.
Yeah.
This is amazing. All right, so everything up there is on PortiaBryan.com. Make sure you check out the Facebook What Would Jesus Do Facebook group. Thank you so much for doing this. I know I caught you spontaneous
Yeah.
minute,
But you have to put What Would Jesus Do by Portia Bryant Facebook.
yeah. What Would Jesus Do by Portia Bryant? You got to put that up there. Make sure you do that. I'm going to actually put it up there so everybody can see it to get those senses working. Facebook group. So I'm going to make sure I type that in there.
By Portia. Yeah.
Yep. Facebook group. What Would Jesus Do? Okay. Got it.
By Portia. Because there are many different What Would Jesus Do groups, but What Would Jesus Do by Portia Bryant. There you will have accountability, follow up. I mean, it's just an amazing program. Then I have a mind transformation curriculum that I built from the program, mind transformation for manifesting more peace and patience.
Gotcha.
And it's been everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'm so proud of you. You are such a warrior, such a pillar in the body of Christ. God bless you. You have a good night, all right?
Thank you so much.
That's Portia Bryant. She's absolutely amazing. And so we're talking about the abusive woman, the narcissistic woman, and I want everybody to make sure you check out Portia Bryant. Make sure you guys support her as she goes on this endeavor to really build, like help people build healthy thinking, healthy, ideas, healthy, behavior, as I'll put it, healthy behavior. This is what's so important about this situation is that men are sometimes men are just stuck, because especially if they're trying to be honorable men. That's one of the most difficult things is when men are trying to be honorable and they're with somebody that's constantly dishonoring them. You know what I mean? That's something you got to constantly think about that men, that men have to deal with where there's so, and that's very hard because when you emasculate somebody, it's scary. When you're being emasculated, first of all, I got to tell you, when she said that the matching your energy thing, that kind of hit home because I'm all about, I'm all about firing back. Like, you shot at me, I'm gonna shoot at you, and I got to do a better job at that because it can be so damaging, and I think that man, it's just tricky. Because so many people, most narcissists don't know that they're narcissists. Abusive people a lot of times know that they're abusive, but they don't care. That's why they pick the people that they pick, to be with. I'll be there in a second, Ezekiel. The concern is that they pick people that, Ezekiel, why don't you try writing something? Let me see what you come up with. But they know who to pick. They know what type of person to pick. And so they pick people that they can absolutely beat up on. The narcissist is just such a, they're into themselves. They genuinely don't care about how they make other people feel. They don't care about, all they want is what they want. And I think that's what makes them so extremely dangerous is when they are with someone that, when you're with somebody that, how do I put it? When you're with somebody that, or when you, especially if you're a parent, I would be devastated if my child got with a narcissist. You know what I mean? I would be devastated if my child got with somebody who is, abusive. I got with somebody that like if my son got with somebody that was abusive, I would be devastated by that. You know what I mean? It would destroy me to see my child suffering, and there's nothing that I can do about it. You know what I mean? That's a sad thing to watch your child go through something. And first of all, you watch your kids go through enough already, right? But hey, guys, I want to tell you something. We need your help. We're going through a little stuff. We're we need support big time. We definitely need support big time. We are going through. We're getting sued by the mall. They want their money. I guess there was a breach of contract because we had to leave the mall. We couldn't afford to be there anymore. We just couldn't get the support. We just couldn't get the support, bottom line. As much as we wanted the support, we couldn't get the support. As much as we needed the support, we couldn't get the support. As much as we promoted, and then we just began to annoy you guys, and you guys just kind of blocked us out. That's the kind of honest truth right there. We just kind of, after a while, we just started annoying you guys, and you guys just blocked us out. But we definitely need your support. We're getting sued for $12,000 by Lynn Haven Mall. And so we definitely could use your help. Here's all the ways you can help out with the CSJ team. PayPal me. We want to pay the bill. I mean, but at this point, it's just embarrassing that we started the whole vision for the body of Christ, and then the body of Christ didn't respond. And but thank you to all the ones that did. Of course, thank you to all the ones that did, but it didn't respond the way we wanted it to. And now we are getting sued by them all, and so nothing's changed. We still need the body of Christ to help us, and to help us pay this bill. And my hope, my dream, is that we'll say, hey, I hope that people say, hey, what those guys were trying to do was a really good thing. Let's help them not be humiliated. Let's help show that the body of Christ actually comes together. But anyway, we're talking about abusive women. We're talking about abusive women, narcissistic women, and these people exist. Fellas, you got to watch out. These people exist. They're extremely dangerous. They're extremely dangerous. For 20 years, out of the 20 years, this is God honest truth, out of the 20 years of ministry that I've done, at least no less than 50, 60 couples, 50, 60 men have come up to me and told me that they were being abused and they didn't know what to do. And we've had to have counseling sessions and things like that, being emasculated, talked down in front of, humiliated. The abusive woman is unique in her nature, because she gets to hide behind her smile. Society is kind of giving the abusive woman a blanket, and that's one of the things that I think it makes them so dangerous. Is I was pushed down the stairs by a girl one time, and she told me, "No one's gonna believe you. I'm a white girl." That's what she said. And I was so scared. I was like, "Oh man, you're right. No one's gonna believe me." Yeah, dude got pushed downstairs. This girl's so nice, and there's a lot of manipulation that takes place. I want to hear what you guys have to say about this, because especially if you're a parent, what do you do as a parent? Do you stand by and watch your child get abused? What do you do with that? Like that has to be terrifying. So I'd love to see comments, and tell me what you guys think. Before Portia Bryant came on, this is what she actually sent. I copied and pasted it, but this is what she actually said. "I'm one of the good ones, married now for 22 years. My passion is helping believers to develop a better relationship with their emotions for their life's benefit. I stand in agreement with Pastor Duke. The element he is speaking against certainly exists, and it really does exist." And now here's where it gets confusing. It gets confusing. It doesn't mean the people are evil, okay? What it means is that the place where they need ministry, the place where they need help, the place they're hurting, the place where they need help is in this relational area. They are relationally dysfunctional, and so one of the things that they'll do is pick someone that makes them feel safe, but they don't care if they make you feel safe. This is where it is extremely dangerous. Okay, I mean extremely dangerous, because when you're dealing with somebody who can't see themselves, and you're dealing with somebody like when the whole purpose is for them to feel safe, not how they make anyone else feel, you're in a bad situation, buddy. And I'm definitely talking to the men right now. You know what I mean? You're in a bad situation when you are with somebody who their entire purpose, they're the ones that have to feel safe. They don't care if they make you feel safe or not. They don't care how they emasculate you, embarrass you. They try to separate you from your friends. They'll cause problems amongst your friends. And what's funny is again, most guys, most good guys, I know the pattern of good men. Most good men will find it more easy to, or it's not even that they find it easy. They're so anxious to make their woman happy that they genuinely will search the depth of themselves trying to make them happy. But you guys, you're never going to make a person happy that isn't happy with themselves. Do you understand what I'm saying? You're not going to make a person happy that's not happy with themselves. You can't do it. And so men will try and try and try and try to make a woman happy. And matter of fact, a lot of times the woman just, seriously, this is no joke. A lot of times predatorial women, these abusive, narcissistic women, a lot of times they actually are disgusted by the man's efforts to try and try and try. Because even they're like, oh, great, I got the. They're so awake in a lot of ways. They're like, I got an insecure man that doesn't know how to value himself. And they know it, and their efforts disgust them. And that will blow your mind away. That's a really, really scary thing when you're dealing with a woman that can identify that she has a gentleman, that she has a man that's willing to step aside for her and build her a life and give her, and I can't imagine a mother or a father having to sit back and watch this. Now, I am going to talk directly to the narcissist, abusive woman right now, and I'm going to tell you this. I know you don't want to hear this. I'm going to look at the camera. I'm going to look at the camera and say this. I know you don't want to hear this, abusive, narcissistic woman, but the reason why you do what you do is because you're genuinely not happy with yourself, and you're really disappointed in you. That you are fully aware of the type of person you are, that you're lazy, that you don't really want to do anything with your life. You really just want to be cared for, and you absolutely think the whole world revolves around you, but it doesn't. And I know you don't want to hear that. It doesn't. And the one thing that I know, it never ends up working out for your kind, for you abusive, narcissistic people. It never ends up working out for you and your kind. Either you get better and you deal with it, or everything comes crumbling down on you, because you're either going to become a testimony of God's goodness, or you're going to be destroyed as a monster. That's usually what happens. And usually what happens is when your kids come out, they disconnect from you. They will see what you actually are eventually. And once they see what you can't undo it. You can't undo it. When your children get old enough to see, mom shouldn't be talking to dad like that. Mom used to tear dad down. When they start seeing that, you can't. That's the thing. You can't undo time. You can always heal. You can always get better, but you can't undo time. And the way you treat people matters. And I know you think nobody hears you, nobody sees you, no one's gonna say anything because you got this weak man, this broken man, or you got this good man that you're abusing. So there's three different types. There's the weak man, there's the broken man, and then there's the good man that believed you were a woman of integrity, a woman of love. And this man believed in you, and you are a disappointment. You absolutely are. So you're angry, but you take it out on this good man. So I want to say this to you. Stop it. Get some self-control, get some therapy, and stop it. Now, if you can't, I pray with everything in my heart. I pray that the phases happen. I pray that people pray for you. I pray that you try to get couples counseling and all this other stuff. But I also pray for protection over that man, that you do not destroy that man from the inside. Because I'm going to tell you guys something. I'm going to tell you men something. I want to tell you fellas something. This is very important. Men, especially men of God, Solomon had the kingdom. Solomon lost the kingdom because of the ungodly women he was attached to. That he began to they forced him, they lured him into doing what they wanted him to do. If you are, listen, guys, you got to get this. You got to get this. You will only go as far as the woman you're connected to. You're not going to go. Trust me. I know you think you're going to do this and that, but the levels of manipulation that a woman is going to hunt you down, to stop you from your destiny, you won't. You marry the wrong woman, guys. There's nothing you can do about it. You know what I mean? You gotta be disciplined and care about yourself enough to protect yourself. I know that it's scary. I know that it's humbling, but we got Crystal Trina Hollowell here. Crystal, we're talking about abusive women. We already know that abusive men exist. We already know that, but how do you feel about the reality that abusive women exist?
Hold on real quick. I can't hear you. So the volume is very low coming from you.
My volume is very low. Is that better? Oops. Is that better? Is that better? I don't know why my volume is low.
I'll come right back.
Okay. So I'll come right back. So the reality that abusive women exist, and listen, I know that couples have disagreements. I know that that's a situation where couples have disagreements. I know that people have problems. I get all that. So I'm not talking about an argument, but I am talking about just ripping into someone, tearing someone's courage down, intimidating someone, making a man feel less than a man just because you can. You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about more than anything. And, I've seen it for so long in so many men's relationships, and so many people have been asking me to address it and asking me for help. I really couldn't just put it off anymore because it was becoming more and more common. And again, listen, I understand that women have been terribly abused for a very long time and oppressed and overlooked and disrespected. There was a time where, men could just easily say, you're nothing but a woman and all this stupid craziness. So I totally understand, the hurt that a lot of women have been through. I understand that sometimes women have daddy issues. But I have to say this, even as a father myself of daughters, of daughters, I would have to say, if I saw that my daughters were not healthy thinkers, were not led by God, were not women that should be desired, like my daughter. If I saw that my daughters were absolutely insanely crazy, I'm not telling. If I would straight up tell a guy, you can do better. I wouldn't have a problem telling a man, if my daughter is dead weight, if my daughter is not listening, if she's rebellious, if she's chaotic, if she's not going to be a good mate, I would tell a man in a heartbeat, run. Don't be with my daughter. You know what I mean? If I saw that she has a temper, if I saw that she's lazy and mouthy, I'd be like, do not marry my daughter. I would warn without hesitation. I would straight up warn a man from marrying my daughter. That's I bet my kids probably hoping I check out before they even get married, because I'd be all up in their business. Like seriously, I don't want my family, like I don't want my grandkids having to suffer through a horrible relationship like my kids had to. My kids had to go through a terrible relationship. We would come from like a total God thing and then into chaos because everything was all jacked up. I mean, it's ultimately my fault because, so the amount of people that tried to stop me from getting married but I didn't listen. I didn't listen. But my big point is this, guys, is that realistically, women, Faith, come here for a second. Realistically, women, they don't understand, abusive women don't understand how dangerous their words can be. Have a second, I'm talking about something real quick. All right, just because you're a tad bit crazy. So I just want to, no, I mean in a good way. Not really. Unmarriable. What do you think about, how do you think a woman is supposed to treat a man?
If he makes her mad, she has the right to lock him in a plane.
Lock him in the basement.
No.
That's why I told y'all I'm married with him. I was like, my daughter's a psycho.
I don't just the way the Bible tells to treat each other, to treat a person in general, and just especially if you're in a relationship and married, don't. And I think a lot of women put movie expectations on men.
Yeah.
And it's not true.
The movie expectations is the worst.
So, and I think a lot of times women put expectations on men that their fathers were supposed to actually have, but a lot of fathers go into what the world is saying that but women listen to their moms and then a lot of times a lot of daughters don't have close relationships with their fathers, so they don't know how to treat a man because they've only listened to their mother kind of talk and treat a man. Or a lot of times, especially in today's society, the woman is not more dominant, but you can see a lot of disrespect in relationships where the woman disrespects the husband. The daughter's I don't have to respect.
I don't have to respect my husband. Right.
But I think it just needs to
do you have your phone right by your fan? Crystal just can't get it.
She can't get it right every time. But I just think that they just need to learn from the Bible.
Is your phone in front of your fan?
No. Do you hear something?
Okay, it's just your phone. Yeah. Okay. So what is your perspective? First of all, do you believe that abusive women exist?
Do I?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course. Hold on, I'm cutting down the fan.
Gotcha. I said, is your phone by the fan? She goes,
well, no, the fan's on the other side of the room. But actually have it over on your printer.
She probably had to get up. That's what. But yeah.
All right, can you hear me now? Better?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So we're saying about you believe that abusive women actually exist. How do you think you being the mother?
I thought you were saying you being the abusive.
You being abusive yourself. How do you feel when you're abusing me?
I've been accused of the opposite, letting people walk all over me or whatever. But
no, seriously though, how do you feel about being, a mom of a son? What would you do if you saw your son in an abusive relationship where he was being neglected or emasculated by a woman? How do you handle that?
Well, he kind of was at one point, and I had to talk to him and remind him that is not healthy and of his worth, because he was going through that at one time. He's 24, but in his last relationship, it got really tough sometimes, and like it broke my heart as a mom. That's why I just couldn't do that to somebody else. But everybody is somebody's child, and when you abuse them, like, it's not even just that person. But I don't think there's a way like that you actually love someone and then abuse them and not care.
Yeah. We said yeah. So like, as a mom, you said it broke your heart. Did you feel powerless?
Yes, like, because especially once your kids become adults, you can't say, oh, you're not seeing that person, or try to keep them from them. Like,
yeah.
Like, Dad.
well, what I'm saying,
You need to talk to the wrong people. You're saying out with the wrong people.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well,
There's
a difference.
Getting back parent.
Yeah.
Well, no, but there's a difference. Like, if your child's living with you, something like that, there's more control. But he bought his first house when he's 20, and he's living on his own, paying his own bills, making his own money. Like, he can take my advice, but I can't literally restrict him and say, go to your room. You know what I mean? Like, give me your phone.
Actually, look, if Faith was living by herself, either one of my kids were living by themselves, I don't care if they're married with 90 kids. If I see one of my kids being abused, I'm showing up.
Oh, you don't have to worry about it.
See, that's my homie right there. So I'm showing up. We're doing. I'm showing up. I don't care. But I can totally understand a mom, having to say, what do I do? Like, now, what do you do when the daughter, like, what do you call it? The relationship, the daughter-in-law, the daughter-in-law. So the daughter-in-law, your son's married. The daughter-in-law is attacking you, and kind of like you're in the situation that you saw with your son.
Right.
How do you handle that? Now, Portia Bryant just said you handle it by showing the person more love. I'm thinking about more like roundhouse kicks and headbutts, but tell me what you think.
I don't know. I mean, I know that sounds like a great answer, right? Like, for everything, show more love, like, for everything, right? Be more Jesus-like. However, if someone is in that situation and you can show them love, but that doesn't mean at all they're going to change. That's something within inside of them. Yeah. Nobody can change them. Like, they need their own counseling. They need their own encounter with God. Like, if somebody is abusing someone else, you can love them. That's fine. But unless they have an encounter with God or deep counseling, it's you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter, because love isn't moving them now. You know what I mean? So, it's never a bad idea to love someone, but I don't think that is always the answer.
Yeah, loving someone doesn't mean you'll always be a pushover either. Like,
yeah, because some people will just be like, I'll take the love and still do whatever I want to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love punching. I'm playing.
So this is actually like the future conversation for her, but I do want to ask you this, because I think this is important. Like, why do you think men are embarrassed to say, I'm being emasculated, I'm being abused?
Well, because, like, they're men, like, they've been taught that way, like, their entire lives. Like, when when little girls fall, most of the time, their dads or even moms will pick them up and say, oh, are you okay, baby? But when boys fall and get hurt, it's like, all right, well, get up and suck it up. Like, and that's like, pretty much from the time they're little, they're told that boys are tougher than girls.
I noticed when I made the post, when I started talking about men being abused, people, like, it had all these different perspectives, but they couldn't focus on what I was saying. And they had a whole bunch. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
They had everyone has like, oh, what about this? What about that? What about this? What about? And it was like, whoa, look how they're like, and it was like this constant need to defend the woman, and I think that's the edge that the woman has.
It's just because it's more. I guess just society. It's like Crystal said. It sounds weird. Like I guess, and then to like even if you're thinking about it like as a man, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't. I mean, yeah, never mind, not you. you be putting all you don't care about embarrassment, but it's just it is embarrassing. Like my wife beats me. Like what? And then it's not like they can't like fight back, but then they'll still be in the wrong if it was like if he did the same thing to her that she was doing to him. Like it didn't be wrong.
Yeah, because sometimes it's just toxic and they do it to each other. But what is that to you? What is abuse like mentally? Because like that's what happens. Like not as many men, of course, are physically abused just because naturally men are bigger and stronger than women. Not saying that they're not. There are some that are physically abused. But a lot of men are mentally, emotionally abused. But what does that look like when somebody is mentally and emotionally abused, especially a man?
Usually, so for men, the way women birth children, men birth vision. And when a woman can identify what the man's vision is, and that's where that line of abuse. So if we're talking outside of physical abuse, it's destroying that man's vision because that's like his baby. That's his vision. That's his essence. It's his core. And so when you sabotage the vision, neglect the vision, when a woman emasculates him, makes him think that it's not possible, because usually most people when they meet, you don't meet what's behind the person, right? Because most people don't really grow up with each other. They meet in their 20s, and like kind of like their identities kind of already happen from the momentum of life. And so they usually meet. And then what do? We perform for one another until we talk each other into the craziness of getting married. Then we rip the mask off and show who we really are. And then that's when you find out all this crazy stuff.
But is that like being not supportive or abuse? Like when I think of abuse, which I've seen many women do it to men, is like when they're constantly saying you're stupid and you don't contribute anything. I wish I would have married someone else. You're a disappointment.
Yeah. No. It's bigger than. So when you look at what especially so you look at Jezebel, right? Queen Jezebel and Ahab. He is a high priest, or he's not a priest, but he's a king, and he really wants to serve God, but he's attached to a woman that doesn't care one bit about God, what he believes, and she would even sign things in his authority. So now you have a woman that emasculates a man by his authority and abuses him through his authority, and he can't tell anybody because he's like, you're the king. You're the king, so you're supposed to be this guy that's leading us, and you keep your woman under control. Not in a negative way, but I guess in a counter intensity, like she's signing and making decrees for the people as him, and it's like, how can the people trust you?
That's very manipulative, and that's lying. Like there's so many other things with that. Because
it's also when a man's not doing his job, and a man's not. She feels like she has to do that because he's too scared to. That's a big thing. But then there's Samson and Delilah, right, where the woman is pulling on the man's heart to get what she wants. She's pulling on his heart. Like that is manipulation. And when the man like, tell me your secret, and then he does, and you betray him. Like when a man,
right?
When a man is not safe to be vulnerable, that in itself is the sign that the man that it's a toxic relationship and they're not safe. When people cannot be vulnerable with each other, it's already over. It just takes so long for people. If you're doing with two stubborn people, it just takes them a long time to realize that it's already over. Because you can't be vulnerable. If being vulnerable turns into guilt, like he would try to say, I can't tell the secret because of this. And she didn't respect his boundaries. And that's another thing, is that women feel like that they should own the man in order for that to be true love. You know what I mean? An abusive woman would feel that way. A narcissistic woman would feel that way. Like, if you can't tell me absolutely everything there's some things that women don't need to know about their men, or don't need to know about because they don't have the ability.
Especially if it's like God's telling you, don't share your stuff.
Right. Well, here's and women who can't see themselves are so dangerous because, like Jezebel, I mean, not Jezebel,
But
Delilah, huh?
I was going to say it is an intent because, unfortunately, like women, a lot of women, I mean, men too, but I'm just talking about women, have been abused in some way, cheated on, everything else. And so if sometimes it is trust issues, like, are they wanting to know everything because they have trust issues, or because they just want to be your true partner? And
this is what
I'm
glad you said. That's what I'm saying, is that when I look at Delilah, okay, yeah,
sorry,
you're good. When I look at Delilah, and like her knowing that, 3 times, he made something up to just try to, but she betrayed him 3 times, and he never got the message because he believed at some point she was going to understand, and he didn't realize that she just was sent to sabotage him. And she probably searched her heart. She may have felt bad, but at the end of the day, her loyalty was to something else other than the will of God. And he kept refusing to see that she was not a part of his destiny. She was not a part of the will of God. And he gave himself to her, and he ends up losing everything. And you see this consistency with God when men of God, when really powerful men of God connect with the wrong woman, it's always disastrous. Solomon had the kingdom, loses the kingdom. You know what I mean? People say it's because he worshipped other gods. It's like he was lured into worshiping other gods. He would tell them he can't worship other gods. He was lured into worshiping other gods, even being dismissive. And he wouldn't do it. And so when I look at that, I go, wow, man, I mean, there's, of course, Adam and Eve, right? You got Eve, who, it's like, she shared her deceitfulness instead of just saying, hey, should we be doing this? Like go check with your husband. To me, honoring the covenant, honoring the relationship, that takes a stronger person than doing what you want.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well,
I think too, like we've talked about, like, sometimes it is like neglect. I think there is different levels, I guess, or different ways, not really levels, but different ways to be mentally and emotionally abusive. Like when I think about mentally and emotionally abusive, I think of it as like outright, like constant nagging, telling someone they're not good enough, telling someone they're a disappointment, like, I don't know, that's me. That's how I look at it. But you, I guess, can't tell someone else how they're feeling or make someone else
right.
Feel a certain way. Because I have seen so many women, and it's getting even worse, I think, that are just mean to their husbands. Like, I don't even know any other way to say it, but it's just meanness. And like with me, like, of course, everybody has flaws. I have flaws. Part of mine, like I said, I have problems listening, as far as taking like advice or just listening. Like, I have to do everything on my own, I guess. And that is one thing about me, but I'm not the type of person that's just gonna like start attacking somebody, like,
Yeah, that's me.
Right, verbally attack somebody or anything like that. Like, that's not me at all. Like, and like, well, don't get me wrong, every once in a while I lose my temper, my redhead.
But listen, everyone can clearly see you have red hair. No one believes
right.
you like
I
that.
may lose my temper sometimes, but usually that's when I'm pushed and pushed and pushed. But Yeah, like I don't know. I just can't comprehend how women do that. Like even with you, like, you know, a few times like we've argued, and like if you have said something kind of mean or something and I say something mean back, I immediately start like crying, feeling bad, praying, like, and then I'm like, okay, I didn't mean that, because it's like I don't know how people purposely hurt people that way. Like now my thing is like I will defend something that I believe in to the death instead of just letting God handle it sometimes.
Right.
It's like I
Well,
will
no,
like
but so there's a lot going on when you talk about yourself. There's a lot when it's like, first of all, you were the big sister of 9 years, right? So there's a I mean,
I was the only child for 9 years.
Yeah, and then you know you got the big, you know, coming out of one marriage, you know, that was a long time where you like the, you know, all that, there's a lot of trust stuff going on, you know, but then also there was also being self-employed, right? So there's like, and then there's being the stuff with you having Marfan syndrome and having to maneuver like managing pain and all that stuff. You know what I mean? So you have a lot of reasons why you're an independent person.
Right. Well, also, you know, like it's funny, like my kids growing up, like we never, their dad and I like hardly ever argued. Like it's never hardly in front of them. Like until like the very end of our marriage, like they never even saw us argue. Like the kids didn't grow up like that. And it was so funny because I remember when we first got together.
What just happened? You froze. She just froze. Oh, she just froze. There we go.
There we go.
Go ahead.
But when we first started dating, we were teaching my daughter Jaden how to drive. And I just said something simple to her, and she said, "Stop yelling at me." And you were like, yelling? Like that?
Oh, yeah. That drove me insane.
I raised my voice. And it was like, that's because that's how they were. And so, yeah, like, I don't know.
You guys have a different. So here's the thing about blended families is that you have to learn the family dynamics, right? And you guys have a different family dynamic. You know, when we say yell, I mean, we're putting the work in. When me and my family say yell, we're yelling and screaming. And so we didn't come from a fuss and fight home. It was mainly it was me after the military. You know, if you ever want to know what it's like, what is it like to be with Duke White? Go watch Sergeant Troopers at boot camp when and you'll kind of see what I look like. If you want to see what I look like when I'm angry, go look at a drill sergeants and dealing with a class or something like that. You'll see it. But
you are, because we talked about on the radio before, like you with the kids, like that was the first time I'd ever seen that. Like when they would get in trouble, you'd be like, "Okay, take 3 laps," and I'm like, I was like, "Whoa, I've never seen that actually done before."
Yeah, it was just like you're making your kids run. Like
you didn't do what I just told you to do. Go take 3 laps. Think about it.
Yeah, and it's true. I'm trying to see here. It's very true because one of the things that obviously I notice is like if the United States government is saying this behavior, civilians is basically saying what you're doing is not the way you are coming into the military is not good enough to be in the military. And we've got to strip you of everything you think you know in order to qualify you. Right? That to me, that's just mind blowing that they're saying you're genuinely not qualified to protect this nation because you're too into yourself and you need to be rewired. I'm like, where is the training for that in relationship?
And not just romantic relationship, just in life, really.
Yeah. That's a huge thing. Diane Dunn says this topic of men being verbally or physically abused is not discussed enough. Thank you for discussing this. For the men being abused, I'm sorry for you. Take a stand and move on. Be strong and bold. Life is too short to live like this. God does not want you in an abusive relationship. It's okay to move her move her out of your life. Don't worry about what people say. Be true to yourself. Many years ago, I was married to an abusive man. I don't know how you feel, but I know how I felt. Many people didn't believe me either. Uh, when when you're abused by your spouse, they have broken the covenant with God, and you will heal. So Diane Dunn is saying that abuse is grounds for breaking the covenant's already broken at
Well,
abuse.
yeah, I think that is like abuse is grounds, and it's so weird because in the Bible, like I told you, I did like pretty much a deep dive at Regent into like this marriage class or whatever, and it's like the Bible is like your spouse can have an addiction, um, like all types of stuff. Like they can really be going through it, and you don't have the right to divorce. But if they're abusing you, that I think God does give you that authority to walk away if they're not going to change. And of course, I think God can do anything. I've seen God change the hardest people. Like their hearts are like the hardest hearts there is, and I've seen God change them and they become wonderful people. So God can definitely do that. But that's between that person and God. Even if you're married, you can support them. You can pray for them. You can love them, but you cannot change them. And that's what we all have to realize is that you cannot change. You do not have the power to change anyone. You
Yeah,
can't. You're not God. You cannot change anyone. Even if like somebody has to go through, I think, intense therapy. Like my son, like I said, when he was going through that, like through the whole thing, he started therapy, like, and it really helped him a lot. And then I would send him like Bible verses and things to inspire him, and just talk to him, just listen. And that's sometimes what you have to do. But I couldn't go to her. There was nothing in the world that I could go to her and say that was going to make her change. Like I couldn't. There was no word that I was going to be able to change her. All I could do was
it's so interesting
pray for
because
her. And
it's so interesting because I know the same type of people. Did your phone freeze again? You froze again. All right, so there you go. So I noticed that it's the same type of spirit, though. This this angry spirit, this woman that is angry with herself for not being who she really wanted to be. And so I figured when I thought about this, matter of fact, to the point where they even look alike. The people that this particular abusive, angry woman thing, they honestly, that spirit, the way they make decisions causes them to actually end up looking alike. But one of the things they do is that because they're angry about not being who they want to be, and they still want some form of relationship, so they settle for someone that they know won't hurt them. And so,
but I was going to say the thing about what I've seen almost every single time when this happens, whether it's the male or female doing it, it works both ways because I've seen it both ways. They're unhappy with themselves for whatever reason, right?
oh yeah,
And they are unhappy. But what happens is they always think that this person that they're getting in a relationship with, marrying, is going to be their savior. That person is going to be there and be able to change their entire heart, everything that they're feeling. And then when they are getting really into it and they realize I'm still unhappy, they start blaming it on that other person. Like, you didn't fix me.
yeah.
And
It was the exaggeration of the person,
right.
the exaggeration of the person that they that's what,
Right.
yeah.
They start getting mad that their significant other, their spouse, whatever, isn't fixing them. Like, you didn't do what you're supposed to do. You were supposed to fix me. But that's not your person's responsibility. That's between you and God. Like, they can love you, but they can't fix you. Like,
but I do know that when you look at the what God called the relationship together. That's why I wish people would keep things in a godly context, because in the godly context, everybody can get corrected in a godly context. In a godly context, everybody can be corrected. So like, it's like, if there's a bunch of bickering and fighting about who should do what and what, and it's like, okay, let's go to the word. What does the word say about what we should do? And it's just like, oh yeah, the Ezer Kenegdo. In case you don't know what Ezer Kenegdo means, it means they're actually equal. That God called everyone to. The men and women are equal. They just have different roles, right? They have different roles, but they are indeed equal. I think she froze again. Okay, there you go.
Okay. I just cut the house Wi-Fi off and it's just using my phone. Hopefully this works.
I was driving you crazy. Yeah, but I was gonna say, when you go back to the origin, and which I tell everybody to go back to the origin, what does it say that the we're supposed to do? When you look at God for instruction versus constantly barking at each other about what you're going to do, what you're not going to do, what I'm going to do, and what I'm not going to do, that doesn't work, people. What works is when we say, hey, we're stuck. We're in this place. Let's go look at what the word says about it. The word says, okay, yeah, we have to ask ourselves, do we live in a culture where women understand that men are visionaries? Now, I know, here's how I know that the system that we live in is a mammon and based off money. Because a woman will show her boss a whole bunch of respect, but then do what she wants with her husband. Mm-hmm. A man will walk in his authority, his identity at work, but then won't show his wife that same power and authority. Like he'll kind of be like, it's almost like men and women give our best to everything else other than the relationship. The relationship is when we're tired, broken, busted. We get that version of each other. The husband and the wife gets like the most worn down version of each other. But every day, everybody gets up and puts on their best face for everyone else and all that other stuff. And then the relationship is where all the emotional demand gets put on. If I have a bad day at work, the wife has to deal with that. If she has a bad day at work, the husband has to deal with that. But the people at the job that's causing it,
right,
to deal with it.
Exactly.
It all gets dumped out in the house. And I think that we've lost. So what ends up happening is, let's say if you are a alpha male and you end up with a beta woman, truth is you really want a woman that's going to walk in her authority, not be passive. You see what I'm saying? That's what you settle for, a beta woman. This is what I tell everybody. Stick with honoring the covenant, right? And what I mean by that, stick with honoring covenant, because God can fill in the gaps. God can fill in the gaps. Wherever there's slack, God can fill in the gaps.
Right, because I was like with vision, exactly. Like with us, we have that issue a little bit with our vision. Well, not a little bit. That's been one of our main issues. Like, you do have like a lot of ideas and like great ideas, and there's so much in life that you want to do and that you believe God called you to do. And by the way, I support you in this way, because I don't have clothes anymore, regular clothes. I literally wear Coming Soon Jesus at least 350 days a year. So, but then there's a lot of things that you need that I've dropped the ball on, just health reasons, whatever. But what happens like when you have two different visions? Like,
well, that's vision. That's what causes a divorce.
Right. Well, and what I mean by that is like not visions as far as like we both want to honor God. Like, you love Coming Soon Jesus. I've learned to love Coming Soon Jesus. I know you want to grow that or whatever. But we both together like media. That we kind of opened a media company together. So that's something that we have in common. And then, but I also, like, for me, there's other things like silly things. Well, not silly, but things that I don't think you really had a vision for, like opening like a pet rescue or
No, so it's so funny you say that, because so this is what I mean about what scares me about our society today. Like men talking to men about women and women talking to women about men. I think that's so dangerous because most women have no idea that one of the things that drives a man is his ability to give his bride, his wife, the tools and instruments that she needs to build her life. So one of the things that when one of our first big arguments was when we first started communicating. I knew that you were a writer, and all I
that was
wanted
way back in the day when we were just friends.
we had just started communicating, and I knew that you were a writer, and I'm like, oh, and then I found out your mom thought that you should write books, and then I even remember saying, 'cause, I'm like, you haven't had anything published yet. I really feel like you've been published, and then find out you had a poem that was published. I knew the level of greatness that you operate on, and I always saw that for you because most of you guys we went to school together, and I always thought I'm like, she's going to be a ruler of the universe. She's going to be the top of some super billion dollar corporation that you're going to be running. Like that's
what I always thought too.
But that's what I always saw you as. You know what I mean? And I always saw you.
And that's how life changes you, though. Like I've always been like growing up the overachiever type. Like I said, my senior year, I took 7 classes and worked 30 to 35 hours a week. And still, of course, graduated with honors. And that's how I always was. And then I guess over the last several years, my health has started getting really bad. And it takes me like 3 times the energy to do something that a normal person would do, and like it's just, for example, my mom came over, I've been in the hospital and stuff. She came over the other day and did the dishes for me, and she did them in like 10 minutes. And I'm like, how did you do that? Like, that's cool. Then I remember, okay, I used to be able to do that. Now it takes me 2 hours.
Right.
But it's, I don't know. That's what basically my point is, sometimes when you get into a relationship, a marriage, anything, you plan for life to go one way and then it starts going another way. And I think the other person has to be careful not to take it personal, that there are things that are beyond our control and that we just have to.
So I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. The thing that I don't agree with is, I agree with that so much that the reality is like, so say if we're talking about, if we deal with health issues, then it's like, hey, let's not add to the problem. So if there's health issues, let's make sure we're eating healthy.
You talking about my dog? No, I'm just kidding.
Right. It's like if there's health issues, then let's make sure we're not adding to that. So that it becomes more, because see, when you say the plans, if God's plan is God's plan, then there are things that can happen, right? There are things that can happen, but God's plan is not going to be moved just because situations happen. It just means we have to focus more on the plan. You know what I mean? So the one thing God wants to see is couples, face challenges together, work together, build together, and then next thing you know, whoa, this is his plan. It brought us together. I think about Adam and Eve and how weird this situation is. This is probably like the worst day of mankind's life, right? They get kicked out of the garden, but they got kicked out together.
Right.
I was like, wait a minute, the last person I want to see is you. But you're the only person here, so please, let's just forgive each other. Let's work this out. Right? We have nowhere to go. Let's work this out. Let's figure this out. And it's not about. I think the issue is like not about her or him winning, but it's like, how about we let God win?
Right. And one of the biggest things since me being with you that I've had to completely change. Like I'm almost there. Instead of doing a 180, I'm probably about a 140, 150. But it's being offended. Like, because if you get offended about everything also in the relationship, huh?
So you gonna make it with me? No, you gonna get offended.
No, yeah, because like
Yeah.
that's what I had to like humble myself a lot and learn how to not even just with you, but with everybody, like not to get offended. That was one of the biggest things. I would get offended so easy about stuff, and now God has really worked with me on a fence. But that can be in any marriage, even a marriage where there's no abuse. I'm just saying that's one of the main problems I see when people have communication issues, is that when somebody talks to them about something or is honest, they get very offended, and then they lash out, and then that person lashes back, and then it's like a never-ending whirlwind of lashing just because someone got offended. And so, but on the other hand too, you got to be very careful sometimes how you say things. Like you can attract more with kindness. Like that's how I am. I'm that, I'm that kind of person that if you speak to me kindly and trying to inspire me, you're going to get a lot more out of me than if you come at me fussing and yelling and
yeah. So here's, and I tell people all the time, and wives of military guys, you'll understand what I'm saying. Like that there's a military intensity that most civilians, there's no job in the civilian world except being a police officer or a firefighter that understands the intensity that soldiers go through. And so when and that part of you never leaves. Once you go through boot camp, it's like this is a state of being, and then you get thrown back in civilian world, and you gotta hope everybody can vibe with you, right? So it's really intense. So it's like, I can only think about the woman that has had the house to herself for 6 months. The kids, they have their things, and then the dad comes home, and it's like, get up 4 o'clock in the morning. You gotta go. You gotta do this. You gotta do this. And so there's this mission-minded intensity that civilians, men or women, civilians just don't get. And so it's not actually this. Then it intensifies even more when that intensity connects with God, right? And so now I saw this video, a post that Rodica Lambert had made, where it was like, as a pastor's wife, it was like life as a pastor's wife, and it shows the husband waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning with a word from God while she's trying to sleep, and it's like, you know what I mean? And I know that you've seen that several times, but
no, never. I've never experienced that.
Oh yeah, it gets real, folks. It gets real. The phone calls in the middle of the night. Preaching in the front yard till 4 o'clock in the morning. All that. So there's a different life, but at the same time, a business owner, an entrepreneur. They're gonna do it too, and you do have to work on balance, right? You do have to work on balance. But what's interesting is those are all attributes of a good man or woman. Or someone who's focused, a visionary, passionate, zeal. The abusive woman will try to steal that from the man, crush him, try to crush him, steal him. And it's almost like, let me domesticate this. This guy was meant to be a tiger, but let me domesticate him. So now he's a lapdog.
So what do you think with that though? Like, okay, so you get into a marriage, you marry someone, and whether it's female or male, and then you all of a sudden realize, hey, like this person is not treating me right. Like my life was better before them. Like they are literally putting me down every single day. I don't have faith in myself. Like what do you do then? Like if you've already married, like
the reality is that the reality is that the marriage is only going to last a little while longer before something will break. Something will give, something will break, and it won't last.
Maybe they just need counseling just to learn how to communicate better. And
that's this particular person.
You were saying what is abuse to you mentally and emotionally is totally not what is considered abuse to me. You know what I mean? Like I would feel
watch this, right. So watch this. I want to show you something. Well, see, this is what I'm going to show you is that even in counseling, the abusive narcissistic woman that I'm talking will play the role to make herself look believable. So the therapist, guess what the man's going to do? He's going to do what he always does. He's going to play the role and play the victim. He's not going to, because he knows that if he tries, that she's going to go deeper into her role. So he's just going to say, yeah, whatever she says, I'm the problem. And then it's just, and he goes deeper into being a slave. And what disgusts me more than anything about the abusive narcissistic woman is her ability to be happy when she can clearly see the person she's supposed to love is absolutely miserable. But where like to me that is the sign of the coldest of hearts. When I can see you completely miserable. I'm not a fan of your cat, right? I'm not a fan of your dog either. You know what I mean? Like I'm not a fan of it because it's like, that's not something we built together, right? So it's like I'm not a fan of it, right? Well, what's crazy is when I see how much you love them, I'm like, okay, I'm doing this for her. You know what I mean? And the abusive narcissistic woman, just like you said, you didn't identify this. The abusive for men, and this is one of the dangers of men talking to men about women and women talking to women about men, but not talking to each other, is we could come to that understanding of how do you see abuse? What do you see as this? What do you see as that? I know women that can handle their men screaming and yelling at them, but seriously, I mean, that's serious. They can handle them screaming and yelling, but if they talk to another woman at all, because for them, it's trust.
Yeah, if I really had that issue, we would have been over after day one. Because you're always ministering to somebody, male, female, child, adult, it don't matter.
Yeah, well, and see, and that's what I'm saying. I said, when I look at men and women today, and I'm going like, you guys are not communicating. That's one of the things. And you said, hold on 1 second. We had a question. How should a spouse respond when the other spouse threatens to leave them? How should a spouse respond when the other spouse? So that's a good question, because when there's a threat to leave, it provokes the guard to go up. But I tell people, when the guard goes up, let the guard go higher. When the guard goes up, keep your guard up, but you let the guard go up, but also let God go higher, right? Like pursue God more and faster. However, I think the biggest mistake when someone threatens is like, can the person see themselves? So if I say, Crystal, I'm going to leave you, I want a divorce, before I get there, I want to examine myself. Does that make sense? Most people have to examine themselves first and to see what's really going on. What do you got, Crystal?
Well, I think one thing, when that happens, a lot of times the person that is being left, because if somebody says, I'm going to leave you, it's because they're feeling like abused, neglected, whatever. And the other person might just start saying, I'm sorry, I'll change, I'll do better. And then they go it's fine for a while, it's great, and they go right back into the pattern. So when you're threatening to leave someone and it's gotten to that point, the only way that you can really work it out is by putting God in the center, and I think going to counseling together to learn how to communicate, whether it's with a pastor, someone, you've got to seek outside help. And just threatening to leave so that the person will act better, that's not ever going to work. Like, there's still the issues, there's still what's going on. You can threaten to leave all day long, but nothing's going to change. Even if you do leave, you can't come back unless something is changing, because just the leaving isn't going to change anything. It's not like, oh no, like they're threatening to leave me, I better start acting better. They'll think they are, and they might even be thinking genuinely like, oh my gosh, I pushed it too far, I'm going to do better. And then, but if they don't really have a change of heart, it's like a heart issue, it's just going to keep happening.
It
Like,
really,
they need
at the end
bigger
of the day,
help.
it really is a hard issue. It really is a hard issue. You know, and my concern, my thoughts when I hear stuff like that, you know, I'm a threat to this. To me, it's like it gets worse. It's like a snowball effect. It gets worse. Like when kids are born, then it turns into, now we're going to leave you.
Right.
You know, when kids are born. So it's like, you know, the counseling, the it's like, you know, get to the breach now, fix the situation now. Let's find out what's happening right now. Because if we don't deal with it right now, if there are future children coming, if there's a, you know, the one thing that we know for sure is that conflict is coming.
Right.
You know, so it's like, if we don't become a team right now, when the pressure of reality shows up, are we going to have each other's backs? You know what I mean? And like for you and I, Crystal, we have a blended family. So I would want you to I would want us to be such a powerful team, right? That if one of us was to pass, like my kids would still be able to depend on you and see you as mom, and your kids be able to see me as, you know, Duke. Maybe not dad, but they were like Duke because they were older, you know what I mean? But it was like they would still know that, hey, I'm a support system for them. I got their back. You know what I mean? And when people don't really gel the way they're supposed to as a couple, as a team, what ends up happening, what ends up getting sacrificed is this beautiful, beautiful opportunity to really create that tribal community that God loves, so that family that God loves so much. And we're going to take a quick break right quick. I'm going to show you guys this video from Hoodies for the Homeless.
Hi, I'm Robert Shepard. America has approximately 580,000 homeless people. My area of Virginia estimates 5,783 people living on the streets. A Google search can show the homeless number in your state. You can make a difference. Please send a message that God loves the homeless and has not forgotten them. Go to www.comingsoonjesus.org and click on Fundraising. Purchase the Coming Soon Jesus t-shirt or hoodie. The CSJ team delivers the shirts and hoodies to homeless shelters, churches, and even directly to the homeless. Together, we can make a difference. Together, we can help the homeless. Please go to www.comingsoonjesus.org. Purchase a t-shirt or hoodie for the homeless today. God bless you as you bless the homeless.
All right, I'm back. And I guess Crystal froze again. She's gonna have an hard time. Listen, guys, we love, we're going to be having a lot of these real conversations, just trying to help more people. And we know that what my real prayer is that we're able to help people by talking about conversations that maybe normally don't get talked about, but really do need to get talked about. When I started thinking about how many, you know, the reality that men are talking about women and women, I was just like, this is a horrible idea. You know, like the idea of men getting advice about women from men, doesn't it just sound horrible?
Yeah.
But I know it's vice versa, but I'm just saying, doesn't that sound terrible?
Right. That's why I think sometimes the best, and I've talked about counseling a lot, because I really do think talking sometimes, because I'm a very private person, just because I know how it is. Like, you have to be careful what you put out there, because people will pray against you. And that's the reason why. It's not like I'm trying to hide something. I just don't trust a lot of people sometimes to be praying instead of gossiping. And, you know? Right. So anyway, I think that the best is when, especially if you're a Christian couple, that if you're having issues, that you're counseled by another Christian couple, like that have had a steady, good, God-centered marriage for a long time. And I think that is the best, other than going, well, of course, and some people just need individual therapy, but when it comes to getting counseling as a couple, I think you're best being counseled by a couple, because there's two different perspectives, the male and the female.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. And one of the things that I think about when I hear you say that is, it's literally impossible because we're not going to have a successful relationship if we don't appreciate each other's uniqueness, each other's journey, right? So unless you grew up with this person every single day of their life, when you meet someone, you got to get caught up to how they became the way they did, why they became the who, the what, the way. And then you have to ask yourself, you know, I don't think anything's wrong with this for someone to say, hey, that's a little bit much for me. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's like, well, then let's stop here and not proceed. And I'm talking about, this is before marriage, by the way. This is where you know this friend category, because I can't deal with what comes with you.
What one thing that I don't understand, and I can't even comprehend, is when, especially, you see this is a lot when women do this, that with their spouse, like, of course, and it's already known that normally when people get married, the female family is who they go to the most. Whoever the female in the relationship is, that's usually where they spend more time. But the wives who kind of like also abuse their mother-in-laws and father-in-laws and in-laws, basically, like, to me, that's horrific. Like, if you love someone, you would never want to hurt someone that they love that much. Like, even with your mom, like, I know your mom's been aggravated with me a few times, but I've never I could never imagine in a million years being purposely mean or rude to her. You know, that's your mom. That's like, she was the most important woman in your life. She raised you. You love her. Like, that to me is horrible. Like, I can't imagine that somebody would do that. Like, I was married, before 17 years, and my mother-in-law sometimes would drive me crazy, but it was the same way. I never once said one unkind thing to her in all that time. And it was just because that was my ex-husband's mom. Like, that should be hands off. You don't do that. Now, I'm not saying you can't set healthy boundaries. That's different. But to just be mean and belittle and
I think these abusive women who are, they want to see how much power they have, how much control, and they don't want competition. And so they want to know that they have the power. Honestly, but you know what? So here's the thing. And this is where it gets fun and exciting, like, because we're really untangling some stuff and really talking about some stuff. So one of the things that happens, right, is like it's not naturally, sometimes it's like the mom, right? The mom has to give up her baby, and so first thing is this new chick who's going to take her baby. This new chick, so especially if like in my situation where my mom straight up told me, "Don't introduce me to no more of your girlfriends. Don't introduce me to fiancés. When the marriage happens, introduce me then. So. Interesting enough. A lot of times, I notice that moms are very protective over the sons, right?
You a mama's boy.
Especially I'm a mama's boy, so I know. You know what I mean? So here's what happens, though. It's very interesting. When for the abusive narcissist, they know that the mom is the number one threat. Like, she's the number one target. Like, men tell men, if you ever get locked up, you go to jail, you punch the biggest guy you can right in the face. Right? Well, the abusive narcissist chick, she knows that mom is the number one target because she's the only other woman that's had access to this guy's heart. And that
right,
woman,
and that can give advice, like that they're going to listen to. Like, that's what it is. I think sometimes the women that do abuse that way, they're so afraid that their true colors are showing, and that mother-in-law is going to give him advice of, hey, this isn't right, you're not being treated right. Like, because they can see it, they know their child better than anybody on earth. Like that's how it is with my son. Like, but I had to be very careful with him with it.
well, you play a different game.
It's over, but huh?
You play a different game than I do. You acknowledge girlfriends and boyfriends. I don't. I'm like, man, like whatever, dude. Listen, everybody, I got a treat for you guys.
Treat.
Faith has been working on this for a while. Finally, we have the commercial done for the new for Bright Herd LLC. So check this out. This is our new business partner, Bright Herd LLC. Hope you enjoy. I'm going to show this to you. Faith is doing a great job. If you need a commercial, we will actually make your commercial for your commercial video for you. We're trying to help as many entrepreneurs as possible, and we want to work with you guys. But this is the new Bright Herd commercial,
and we do it at a fraction of the price that other people do it for, and it's good quality. I mean, a 60-second commercial, I mean, it usually costs, it could cost like thousands of dollars depending on what you're getting in with it, with all the editing and shooting and stuff.
Sure.
And our prices are amazing because we just want to help people.
Here we go. Greetings, fellow business owners. I'd like to post our technology hope. Successfully achieve various entities as small business, international organ. At Bright Herd LLC, our commitment lies in aiding you to transforming your brilliant concept into reality. High requirements for mobile apps, game development, and digital web development, ensuring security, user-friendliness, and most importantly, illuminating your bright message. Our ultimate goal is to see your success and satisfaction shining brightly. Did you freeze again? Oh, there you go. Faith did a phenomenal job with that. And
Faith likes me more than she likes you.
Crystal, you did an amazing job with the voiceover.
I know. Can you imagine my voice being that deep? It was so cool.
No,
you did do an amazing job with it. You and Faith was y'all's collaboration.
Well, I want to tell everybody out there, we're putting together the package for you so you can fill out forms and all that stuff because we want to try to, keep everything organized. I'm working on being organized. I know that I'm known as the spontaneous, crazy guy, but I want to try out this whole organized, mature thing.
I know, it was funny. I looked in your book and I'm like, I'm so proud of you. You like have your passwords all in one place. And then Faith was like, oh, I did that.
But I've been going by it though. I've been going by the schedule. I've been working it, man. I'm trying to get more organized. It's hard because there's so much to. Hold on one second.
Get off your phone.
Yeah, I mean, what? You just did it. That was you. That really was you. That was you. That really was you on the. You said get off your phone.
I used to prank my family members all the time. Like one time I called my dad in this voice and said I was like a police officer and that people have said that he's been going around the neighborhood peeking in their windows. And my dad didn't know it was me. And my mom knew, like, she just knows my personality. So she thought it was funny. And then my dad was like, Jimmy, what are they talking about? I didn't do that. What are they talking about? I'm so horrible.
Yeah, that's jacked up, Nick. Because your dad's. I can see your dad being like, man, I can see him stressing out. So a lot of here's the thing is that I think that a lot of people don't understand that the damage that we do to each other when we don't treat each other right, and that's unfortunate. You know what I mean? Because treating each other right is something that, you know, there's always somebody out there that will. And here's where it really gets complicated. When there is somebody out there that will treat you right, and that energy, that power of being treated right truly is resonate, like it's true, that synergy's happening. There's not people listen, guys, there's nothing you can do about it. You can lose the one. I hate that this is true, but I want people to know you can genuinely lose the person you're with, because there's always somebody out there willing to do it the right way. And what scares me about that is a lot of people will stay in the toxic situation because they might feel like, oh, this is what God wants for me. This is this. But it's like, guys, to be totally honest with you, when I looked at how Esther came in to King Xerxes' life, it was because his wife, King Xerxes' original wife, humiliated him. When I look at how God is and the patterns of God's character, he goes with where the honor is. He doesn't lose himself, but he follows the honor. And what I try to tell people is that's why that the scripture talks about the neglect, and that's also being a part of abuse, not honoring, dishonoring. Like when God does things like warn us and say, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. And he says, wives, honor and respect your husband. He's literally giving us the keys on how to save a marriage. But if you want to play with that, you want to mess with that, it's up to you. Look, guys, we're out of time. We love you guys. I got to be up at 6 in the morning. We're going to be in Flow Church, Newport News at 8:30 in the morning. We're baptizing a whole bunch of people tomorrow.
Really? What church?
Flow Church with Mike Mines. We're going to be there, and I get the privilege of baptizing a bunch of people tomorrow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's exciting. That's why I thought it was unique when you started talking about baptism earlier this week. I'm like, she doesn't even know that.
No, like real quick, that's what I was saying. The other night I was having some health. Well, I've been having health problems, but I was having some scary things happening. And anyway, I just turned on Matthew from the beginning and listened to it. When I fell asleep, I was listening to where the baptism and then John the Baptist being beheaded. Then the next morning when I woke up, I caught on my phone, and then the first thing that was playing was Mark about the baptism. And I was like, whoa.
That's too cool. That's too cool.
I know.
So we will be in Newport News Flow Church. Make sure you check that out. We'll be filming it. So this is going to be really exciting. I love you guys. Be good to each other out there.